we're back. We is on. Hello, Bradley. What's up? Okay, cool. So I forgot to do our little prediction there. But you know, maybe we'll
do 2 on King's Row.
We could do that.
Yeah,
we'll
backload them.
So I would like to do this. What I have found interesting is that in this format, we can go on and on about stuff, not only what's happening in the game, but the theory crafting around the composition. So I want to do a little mini challenge, because this is something that also as casters start to learn things and notice nuances in the gameplay, they all talk about everything. Every color caster especially goes through this. Like, I think you literally have to go. I think it's mandatory as part of the process, to where you're spending so much energy and time to or along the progression, you have to download the game so much and understand meta and learn all of these things. But then you end up just bringing up like 5 points. Like, I know this is something we've talked about. I'm telling you, I'm talking about with every color caster. It's like, what's the one thing you really got to watch out for? So I'm gonna challenge y'all for this, right? We had some interesting notes, a lot of discussion around from the first map. What is the one thing you're watching for now, given the control, given that it was just control? It was just control. What do you want to say about it? What's one thing y'all are watching out for going into King's Row?
Kenobi, you take the lead here.
So on the assumption that Choose Money Crew is going to play this Doomfist composition, I am going to be looking at where the flashbangs and immortality fields. I mean, that's kind of cheating, but those are 2 cooldowns that I think are going to be at least just like how they're going to counter this Doomfist and how they're going to negate a lot of the value coming through, because it's something that they can't just let run roughshod over them. Because if that happens, like they very convincingly won those last 2 rounds of Oasis. So I think something has to change in the way that they're dealing with the Doomfist and the cooldowns they're being committed to the Doomfist specifically.
Agreed. I think for me, for Yab on the defense here, I'm very of the opinion that engaging, or at least threatening the engage with E when contesting for the high ground, is super important. So it's exactly where or when Yab actually chooses to engage, because I suspect if Choose Money Crew is going to commit to this Doom Zarya composition, they're going to want to, from stage, from them, kind of their perspective, they're going to want to kind of hug the right side and go up the alleyway and try to make a play for the high ground. So it's at what point Yab decides to kind of identify that that's what's happening and then engage on top of it and how they punish it. If they can choose their engages, I think Choose Money Crew is going to be put on the back foot. I think it's going to be really difficult for Choose Money Crew to be able to actually play reactively or counter punchy from this Doomfist composition. I think they want to be the ones to be proactive. So if you actually up the tempo and have Yab rush them down, maybe even in positions or without cooldowns that they necessarily would have engaged with otherwise in the mirror, but specifically because this is the Doomfist composition, I'd like to see them up the tempo and really kind of pressure Dana to be able to get something done on the back foot.
Okay, so Volamel says, can Choose Money Crew get the engages they want, and is Yab going to adjust by being like, no, keep away so that they can't get the engages they want? And then Kenobi's note around it was you're seeing the Zarya
usage.
Cooldown usage with Zarya Doomfist. So they're kind of related, for sure. Yeah, my note would have been, how is Yab going to adjust? I mean, just kind of simply that, right? Reason question.
Yeah.
What if they're going to see Doomfist? We're going to see that they're going to see Doomfist again. There has to be a change. So what is that going to be? All right.
I would guess that it's probably a guarantee that you probably see it on defense. Like when the side swap and Choose Money Crew goes defense, I would guess that it's much more easier. That's not even just not proper grammar, but I think it would be easier to
Doomfist. That's interesting.
Oh wow.
So a little bit of a
this is actually well, okay, they know now.
I really like that.
I still think it's good though. I still think that was really smart.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I think they
wanted to bait them in and then have the Doomfist punch in from the flank.
I think the wall though from Nico actually won them that fight. If that wall doesn't get as much value as it did before. Like,
shout out to Nico as well. Like, just actually fantastic, Meg.
Even going back to
yeah. We can watch that again.
just to see.
Also, here it says, "Where's the SMC diva angry face?" That's a good question. Oh no, it's because the Doomfist. Yeah.
Gotta protect the Doom.
So this is smart because the assumption now for Young and Beautiful, I like this second before Doomfist starts shooting, is that the Doomfist is with the rest of the team, and this wall I think actually fucks the entirety of the aggression from Young and Beautiful, or from Shoes My Crew rather.
All right, here it says that you don't need Zarya for Doom. We should, since Hirix is here, we can extend the offer. We should have you join chat if you're interested, dude.
Just don't get walled by me.
Yeah, forehead. Don't, yeah.
I think it needs a little protection. I think
it's all good.
I think you could argue in an optimal world that a diva could do the job of Zarya and better, but when it comes to just
easier
ease
to
of use,
yeah,
yes, exactly.
It's easier to execute to just throw fucking E on Doomfist than to
try and blanket and pocket Danada everywhere he goes. I think it's tough to see him survive some of these engagements without that. And even then, like it is hard to execute because the bubble timing actually has to be like super specific.
Okay, what the fuck is Danada is getting at? I think he got flashbang there.
Yeah, and that's the difference. So like as much as we talk about like the ease of execution, it's tough to actually get the timing down perfectly.
Because if you fuck it up, you can just get
you just get popped, and then your composition's kaput, right?
Yep.
So there are pros and cons to it for sure.
I somehow killed Hades with that. That happened. Okay.
They're just swinging and missing. I would expect kind of expected them to swap, but I kind of hope that Danad swaps here for this fight. At least they have Grav. Oh, they're gonna go for it.
No, I think they're probably just set on their Doomfist ways.
Yeah, at this point you got 1 minute 40 seconds. Like probably would have been the time to swap, but
I mean, if you swap to Mei, you get a blizzard.
I
probably.
Love Cruz position.
Yeah, Cruz's positioning has been super cool.
Time that he's
actually been up there each engages.
Exactly.
Each time. Every time they've attacked. This is the third attack now, right? I think.
They know they want that high ground. So his positioning kind of shows me that they're trying to remove them or find a window to create a pick as they cross over, as that rotation happens. I think that's incredibly intelligent. Super smart.
But that was the fight they probably needed to win there, right? For SMC, for Shoes Money Crew.
I mean,
they had the grab and
it's a little messy, but it's still window.
Oh well, that's a fucking huge shutter. Oh.
This is where the caster in me wants to say, the spawner's advantage, right? Trades benefit.
Yeah.
So and it might be.
Advantage. I mean, it's true.
I mean, it's not doing too bad.
Stabilizing.
Shoes is spending way too much time on this Doomfist.
All right,
I'm gonna be completely honest.
It's our first pause and predict. I'm gonna call it right now. I'm gonna call for a prediction because we have 30 seconds left, fellas and ladies, and gamers. 30 seconds left, gamers, in this round. Does SMC capture A? Is that a good prediction here?
Okay, so the thing about this is that when I'm looking at this fight, you have one more fight. Maybe no, it's just one. 34 seconds is enough. I don't think enough time to get a second fight, or a full fight at least. The differentiating factor for me in this fight is that Danad is going to have his ult. Now, Doomfist ult is not necessarily the greatest ultimate in terms of just like impact and damage. However, the good thing that Doomfist ult can do is that Doomfist ult is basically a get out of jail free card. So Danad here theoretically can play very aggressively and try and get a pick onto someone on the back line who is hyper important, let's say like the Baptiste on the other side. If he can get Baptiste and he can get in, get out, or even if he doesn't, even if he gets in, forces immortality field early, and then he can get out with his ult, I think Young and Beautiful or Shoes Money Crew at that point have a very good chance of winning because they've already gotten immortality field out. They're going to have their own.
It creates a window for you.
Yeah, It creates a very large window because I think immortality field cooldown is like 20 seconds or something.
Yeah,
So
it's big. Like it's very punishable.
Yeah.
I agree. I think to kind of summarize with what you're saying with Doomfist ult, it kind of, if you could rewrite it, if you could go card game style on it, if you were to rewrite this card, it would say, like, instead of, you know, doing so much damage in area, it would say give you a fresh rotation of Doomfist cooldowns, right? Which is very important, talking about this from the controls perspective. This Doomfist composition engages based off of how, you know, the frequency at which Doomfist can actually get these cooldowns back. So that ultimate for Doomfist is going to alter how Danid plays, and that's going to kind of be shown, I think, through their positioning. I don't think they need the high ground at this point. I think they can take direct engagement. Exactly.
So I'm going to start the prediction here. Does SMC capture point A, or did they not capture point A? I'm going to put 2 minutes on the clock so that you guys can still have time to put in your predictions. But of course, this is just going to be like a raw prediction. Do they get it or not? But I'm going to back to you guys in a sentence. What do you like? You're going to say why you think they do or do not get the point, and what you think the key of the fight is going to be. Predictions start now. You got 2 minutes.
Actually, you
get your answers in.
Yeah, I think I have a very like clear line, at least in my perspective. I think Shoes Money Crew wants to be super proactive. There's only 34 seconds left on the clock. Granted, it's only 1% difference when it comes to amplification matrix. Because they want to be proactive, I would suspect that they're going to build amplification matrix a little bit faster. Which to me, and again, this is just the line I have in my head, I suspect Yab to be able to have second and a little bit more passive amplification matrix, be able to pressure them off point. I think they have, I don't think King's Roar point A is that horrible when it comes to defenders respawn. I'm going to say Yab holds point A.
I'm going to say that Shoes Money Crew is going to get point A. I think that with Danid having the ability to get in, get out, have his second rotation of cooldowns, I think this fight will last longer, which I think enables the Zarya to torque up a little bit and kind of essentially become that third DPS. At that point, I think that Zarya has a very small chance, but I think there is a chance that the Zarya just becomes like a third DPS and is unstoppable. But yeah, I think that's probably where I'm going, is that Danid somehow finds a way to get into the backline, force out an important cooldown like Immortality Field, and the fight lasts incredibly long, and Alex kind of just can start beaming people down.
All right. We got some interesting in chat too. I like that too. I'm gonna predict that they don't get it because of I'm seeing the adjustments of positioning from people like crews, right? Also on Peel. There's going to be a lot of attention for the Doomfist, and they don't have to do it in a way they've had to overcommit onto that, onto what the Doomfist is doing. Now, granted, you know, he has the ultimate in this case, but I think we've seen how good Sika is as well, and has that ultimate. So I'm gonna go based on the amount of peel that they've been able to do for Young and Beautiful on the defense here early on already, without feeling like they've had to sweat too much. Valenchet said that also brought up that Young and Beautiful have Blizzard before Shoes Money Crew do too. They don't have it at all.
They're just going to have Blizzard.
Yeah, that's true.
If the fight goes long, they have the ability to kind of have that team fight ultimate,
which is going to be a free Blizzard because there's no div on the other side. So
Shoes Money Crew has to get this fight very quickly. It can't go prolonged as much as you want to facilitate the Zarya. I don't think it's worth.
I don't know if. Well, okay, 58% is. I don't know if that's enough to where, like, unless Nico's hitting like dingers.
Yeah, I'm not sure you get that.
I don't know unless Nico's hitting dingers. I don't know if he gets all the time.
Yep.
Before everything just melts.
As long as it goes quick.
I get it.
It has to go quick. If you have to draw this into like respawns, that's where I get worried for Shoes Money Crew.
Yep.
If you're getting these respawns advantage and there isn't like a clear winner in the first kind of volley engagement, that's where I kind of give it to Yab and I go, look, Nico's going to come back maybe 90% alt charge. Once that second volley comes in, if that fight isn't determined at that point and like the cap isn't necessarily like finalized, Blizzard can come in, maybe those alts can kind of, start to rotate in, those picks start to happen. That's where it gets a little dicey for Shoes Money Crew, because again, like these rush compositions, you need everybody. This isn't double bubble. You can't just, make some hero plays. You can't just have a fully charged Zarya run in and kind of not tank damage, but be so important and so imposing that you can kind of force picks on your own. So it's tough. You want this is a very tight-knit composition fundamentally. So it's gonna come quick. I feel like if Shoes Money Crew is gonna flip it, it's gonna be quick.
All right, let's do it. I'm gonna actually do this as well. We'll go ahead and we'll put it to 0.75 speed. Let's slow it down a little bit. Let's go already to 0.5.
Let's do a 0.5.
Let's give it the old 0.5. We're not going to go so crazy with the 0.25. Another point here too. Hades will have Shower well before Blizz comes up. All right, I do agree. A lot of things to watch out for. Let's see how it all goes down. 30 seconds left on the attack. Sorry.
So Alex is already very high charged based on what I'm seeing, or like relatively based on what I see.
Ooh, I would love to see Doomfist POV. It's all right.
Okay, Dan had got fucking. I don't know where he was.
Oh, okay.
Gets popped.
You can't.
It was interesting time. Yeah, I was gonna say, Sika High Noon's before.
They lose. Yeah.
It's even the positioning.
Wow.
Once they sniff you out on the high ground,
yeah,
I feel like you want to be playing for the gate.
Wow.
Like if you can gate here and have the McCree be able to shoot through that, I feel like that's way more important than being able to.
It felt strange that he was off
it's
on his own.
It's not over, actually. Well, I mean, it pretty much. I think it is. Yeah, it's pretty much over. It's pretty much done.
You might be able to get like a weird.
The respawns are closer though. It doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't think it.
Does Johnny? No, I don't think Johnny dies. It is a little scrappy, but
unless SMC like really just fucking beef this hard, but I don't think they can.
The one thing I will say is I do appreciate the fact that Yab immediately rotates into like that.
Did Johnny
Johnny comes over the wall. He goes over the wall for that kill. He went over the wall.
Please tell me they're not about to C9. Okay, thank God. I mean, okay, Psychic comes back and kills BAP, which is pretty big.
It's not enough. I don't think you should be engaging this. I think you just back up.
Johnny is a demon. He is insane, says here. I agree. All right, so they got point A. Choose outcome. They get point A. Yay. There you go. We got some channel points out there.
I lost my sword, but I got 2,000 channel points.
There you go. I donated 1K of that, so.
Thanks.
There we go. All right, let's get back into it. But hopefully people see the.
Do we want to see the fight again?
Sure. Yeah, we can see it. Or we can watch it in real time this time. So what were the differences, if you guys, again, so you're wrapping up this on color. We'll throw it to Kenobi first. All right. What's the thing that I gotta watch out for as we check out this fight again? Wait, hold on. Let's see. Oh, okay. I went too far. My bad. 30 seconds. I'm still zooming.
So I don't know. So Dana gets forced out of his gets forced out to use his ult like super early, like really early. He uses this.
Well, he comes in he comes flying in here.
I don't know where he goes. That's the thing. Is like I don't know who he goes after here because I see him just fly up right
in. He's already by. He's already in the back line right now.
He just I don't even think he really finishes his dash. He just like goes in and just ults. And then I think
another switch up that you also have to pay attention to, and that's why ult tracking against this Doomfist composition is so important. Not only is your position so important when it comes to Yab here, and my big thing here is wherever this McCree is positioning, I think it's just greedy is how I would put it.
Yeah.
But when we look at, if we're going back to the pre-fight analysis and we're looking at how Doomfist ult is kind of a refresh of cooldowns, what this means is that Zarya bubble can be way more, aggressively used. So, and I think that's kind of shown through Shoes Money Crew that they're very comfortable to be able to kind of just press into them, knowing that they have that kind of protection that Doomfist doesn't necessarily need. Dana doesn't need that bubble, so you can put it on the Rhine, you can put it on the McCree to be able to take those wide angles.
That's
right?
true. It's also another variation. Yeah.
high nooning like that, I don't.
That
Yeah,
felt like
it's
a
greedy.
big. That felt
It's
more
greedy.
like a.
Yeah, it feels super greedy because
misplay,
you
yeah.
are essentially the only thing that can stop Doom. Like realistically, like there's not really anything else.
There's Doom mitigation
CC-wise,
maybe, but,
yeah,
but like it
but you are
boops.
like the hard CC
Exactly. Yeah.
to take out Daned, and
Right.
you standing still in high noon is, I mean, it's just a free kill for Daned, and you
Especially
really don't
when you know
contribute to
that
the
he's
fight at
all.
all. Yeah,
Like I suspect, I know these teams are good. I've heard some of these comms before. They know what they're talking about. These ults are being tracked, so I don't know exactly why this McCree is going for this such a wide flank. It is a little. It feels very greedy. It feels very optimistic.
I've
to
seen
be
a
able
lot
to
of
kind of
flanking
look for these
McCrees
picks.
with Rush lately in the
yeah,
after
they
watching some
do.
contenders. However, I think the point still stands though, right? Is that
you
and-
need to know that you're the one thing that counters the Doom. Like you
Mhm.
don't.
Oh, gigantic pick through before it
We're
seems like
talking about
drops.
Osaka.
yeah.
It's like a positioning high ground, going wide, not playing in the gate, going for the dead eye.
Yeah, Seka
Feels
was
greedy.
dead-eyeing on the high ground when the Doomfist had ultied actually as well.
Assuming that he knew he had ult.
Yeah.
I would
Which
trust
I
that
don't-
they knew he had ult.
I mean, maybe.
Maybe they're trying to bait it and just do the timing. I don't know. A lot of things could have happened, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like also like if you're just standing still solo, here brings up a good point where it's like they have to advance, or Seek and Nara need to work together for him to hold forward flanks. Like you can't just like solo against Doom specifically. You should never realistically be in a position where you are solo on the flank by yourself.
Yeah, agreed. You need
Especially
some sort of
against
protection.
Daned, because you need like, that's why like when it was like Sigma Mei meta, where like the Sigma and Mei would both go somewhere together. Like it wasn't just, you know, one of them flanking on their own.
Mhm.
Got another ad. Very strange. Hopefully
It does feel like it does feel like they're not banking on Doom ult, but I feel like that's where some of this breaks down.
What the hell is happening in this fight?
Yeah, the scrap definitely goes towards Choose Money Crew, where if the fight isn't guaranteed, kind of going back to Kenobi's point.
you're all heroes on Choose Money Crew, specifically with Zarya and Doom that basically torque up the longer they're in a fight, especially Zarya, and then Doom gets the additional shielding from hitting cooldowns.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like if you're young and beautiful, you kind of stay the same level throughout a fight. Like you don't
Agreed.
excel or anywhere. You're just kind of like the same power level throughout, unless you get alts. But just in terms of just the general way the heroes work, like if you're Choose Money Crew, the longer a fight goes, the more likely you are to have high charge Zarya, the more likely you are to have Daned get his cooldowns back, and so on and so forth.
I'm gonna further that point. I think that's super astute. When it comes to Doomfist, look at every interaction with his abilities. Every single one of them displaces the enemy team. That target is being moved, whether it be vertically, whether it be horizontally, how much horizontally, like every ability is shifting the position. So as the fight continues to scale, Doomfist is mispositioning people, punching them off to the side, uppercutting them up in the air. That opens up more opportunities for Choose Money Crew to be able to either create picks or just separate the death ball archetypal composition that Yab is trying to run. I think that's super undervalued when it comes to just like recoalescing together and kind of making sure you're in effective range of all these abilities. I think it's very difficult as the fight gets progressively more scrappy to be able to kind of do that.
They didn't cap though, so
yeah,
true.
Which is super interesting. I felt like it was going very much their way. They're in kind of control of the pace. But
there's at some point where, I mean, Choose Money Crew, like while they do thrive in like the chaos, you are most likely going to be in a position where if the scrap happens, you're going to trade. I don't think it has the longevity in terms of just sustainability like the other comp does. The longevity with a Choose Money Crew's composition, I think, is just solely reliant on like damage output, where Young and Beautiful, I think their composition with like a Mei, with like Diva, you can negate a lot more damage. then you can. So I think it's like kind of a back and forth like that, where especially at the back end of a point, if you're trading 1-for-1 like that, which is probably going to happen between both these teams, respawns just come over and favor you.
Agreed. As we kind of approach this side swap, I think it would be fun to kind of look at or revisit the kind of style that we approached this first fight with last time, where we look at like not the win conditions, but like what we're really necessarily looking at from Shoes Money Crew's composition when it comes to the defensive side and when it comes to Yab on the offensive side. So Kenobi, like with the rotation that you're seeing from Yab, what are you kind of paying attention to from Shoes Money Crew here with the Doomfist?
So I think this rotation is good because I think what you can do here is you can send D.Va to control high ground a little bit more, and then
You talking about Yab
go
here?
to point. Yeah.
Yab's
on
Naru.
Yab's on offense, right?
Yeah, Yab's on offense.
Yeah. So you can send Naru to kind of check where the Doomfist is, and take away high ground, because Doomfist, I think in a perfect world, wants to engage from high ground, not just like from right in front of you. So you can you rotate through cinema, you rotate to the high ground, take the high ground away, because I think D.Va can very easily just push a Doomfist off high ground, and then the rest of your team can go to point. You've at that point probably understood where the Doomfist is going to be coming from, and then you can probably play a little bit more safely around your cooldowns and figuring out where the Doomfist is. It doesn't look like it worked, but
So they did.
I mean,
They got an early pick.
the initial opener.
Yeah, they got the opener.
Denna died first, which is a little concerning because it's not the first time that he's been picked first. But they do retreat, kind of coil up, and actually do get the re-engage, and it is successful. They're engaging from the low ground, which definitely doesn't.
Alex got a lot of charge. The other thing about this comp for Shoes Money Crew is there's a lot of like, even though it's very Doomfist reliant, the composition doesn't necessarily die when Doomfist dies. Sure. Especially because you're basically guaranteed as Alex to get 80% charge in any fight, because you can most likely play around for yourself getting 40% charge, and then the Doomfist is a guaranteed 40. So I think like, even though Doomfist is dying early in a lot of these cases, I think that, or in some of these cases, I don't think it's great necessarily, but I think there are times where if the Doomfist is dead, Shoes Money Crew's composition rather can rely on the other players to kind of have moments where they can shine, and they don't necessarily. It's not like a house of cards that like once one thing is gone, everything's over.
Super smart from Alex here to be able to kind of have this center position of such an important choke point where a lot of fights tend to happen. It makes it impossible for them to actually eat the grav. So hiding there, being able to grab against the wall, it's a great engagement. But
yeah, especially
because how did that
CPU?
I want to know how, because I think it stopped.
Dude, Chrome is taking up 30% CPU usage right now. By the way,
switch to Firefox.
Honestly, I mean, I probably gotta close some tabbies. Let's see here. That should not be killing it that much. Anyways, should be fine.
Yeah, so like Alex has Grav here. It's the only ult they have. So I mean, at this point, if you want to like pause for a sec. At this point, if you are young and beautiful, you know that there's essentially nothing really. If you've been tracking this well enough, you know that like probably the only thing that's available is Grav. So you, as the offensive side, with all the ultimates that you have, should know that you have somewhat of an advantage, and realistically, your goal is to do everything to make sure Grav doesn't get a lot of value. So I think while there's like questions about like layering support ultimates and layering support cooldowns, this would be a time where I think you just use Sound Barrier and you Immortality Field, just to guarantee yourself the win. Because after that, you still have your Ant Matrix, you still have your Shatter, your High Noon. You have a lot of these ultimates that basically can still win you a fight, but you have sacked 2 of your big support cooldowns for it. And that's how I would kind of view this fight going in if I was young and beautiful. Like, we have such an ultimate advantage here that as long as we literally just don't need to die if anyone dies in Grav, we've failed, because we realistically shouldn't. Agreed.
And think about where Shoes Money Crew wants to, or where they're positioning post Grav. And we know that they obviously do, if Yab is able to kind of sustain that initial Grav fight, that first volley of abilities and ultimates and damage, it's just free season. It's the blue light special when it comes to being able to drop down, you know, amplification matrix and be able to push them back off of that initial engagement. They're having to push off of all of their cozy corners and all of their cover that they're having to kind of, you know, hide behind and try to engage into this ultimate, into this grav and find some sort of success with it. If that doesn't necessarily land, they've already kind of not overcommitted, but they're committed off of a lot of their defensive positions that they're going to get kind of blown down by. And I kind of suspect that Boombox might drop this window here and really kind of like just pump
I think you should drop it after.
Exactly. It's always post grav. Once you've stabilized for Yab, you drop that down and you just fill them full of bullet holes. It is, you have to engage it. Like Choose Money Crew's composition generally, when it comes to most of like the heroes that they have, it is so close range. You look at Zarya, you look at Ryan, you look at Doom, like it is all like super close range. Even McCree to an extent. Obviously you can play some flanks and it's a little bit more mid-rangey, but it's not, you know, far back. You can't just sit back and be able to kind of take pot shots and really kind of pressure people. Like you actually have to commit with your team. There's a lot of ways that Young and Beautiful can kind of punish the win condition if it doesn't necessarily win of Choose Money Crew.
Yeah. So what I'm kind of hearing is, you know, Young and Beautiful have a lot to work with going into this fight. I know this is one we already watched already, but it's kind of the mentality, and you know, I think Kenobi had kind of urged us to come back here. The color caster in you is like, all right, well, this is what they had going into it. Like this is what we would have expected, and then let's go ahead.
Like know what your advantages are. I think is important as well, especially with ultimate tracking. Like know that like if you want to just secure the win, you can, and that I think this team is good enough to have like tracked that there's like only realistically the Zarya Grav. Right. So I would hope, and I think they do. I didn't necessarily, but I would hope they like play it like the way me and Joe said, where it's like you sound barrier, you then wait for everything in the Grav to go away. There's like there's no follow up realistically on the Grav either.
Even the shatter, having shatter advantage. Like if you survive this initial and you shatter off of it, like super defensive wall. Also, lamp comes out, protects the intro. There's the beat.
Yep.
Window. I would suspect the shatter here past the shield. No, hold it. Okay. Parries the charge. Great job.
Yeah, but at this point, the Doomfist has only enough time for like one rotation of abilities, right? And they missed that initial one. I mean, it got close. There was a lamp and sound barrier, and yet I mean, he almost got blown up just beforehand. But but still, to your point, they are the team that says go win fast because Choose Money Crew. They charge up overtime. I like that idea of like they crank up overtime. I forget exactly what you said.
In terms of like scaling?
Just like that they get more power over time because they have the Zarya. And like a Doomfist being able to provide you opportunities to play off of each of those moments, right?
I think now as well, the thing that if you're Choose Money Crew now, I think you should be also looking to use your amp matrix a little bit more aggressively, and Young and Beautiful should know that there's one on the other side, I think at this point, so they should be playing a little bit more safely where they can possibly use geometry. Wall should be saved, I think, for amp matrix, but it looks like it's not even used that way. That amp matrix is weird, actually. I don't know where it was, but I feel like that could have been used a bit better. Because it's like way in the back, like super in the back there.
Now, would you say that fight went how you'd expect for a Rush comp? That felt like a very typical what you'd expect for Young and Beautiful on Rush, right? To try to split up the team. They're using the walls to isolate out the Reinhardt.
I don't know where like Choose Money Crew was at all in that fight. Like that was just, it felt slightly disjointed from them. Like I didn't know. I mean, with like Doom on this point on defense, you kind of have to take like some flanking routes to try and get a lot of value. And I think that Young and Beautiful is doing a good job of just understanding like we just can rush at them 6 people and they can't really do anything to us.
Agree.
Oh boy.
This is where stuff gets really messy because you want to. The one thing that I've kind of tried to pay attention to is the tempo of how Yab is engaging and the success rate of Choose Money Crew. If they're the first to engage or the second to engage, obviously that fight's a little bit good. Not great. But even with that, like Shoes Money Crew engages there, but because of the defensive tools that Yab actually still has at their disposal, like it's tough for Dana to actually get something done. So like their initial like surge of abilities, their engagement is only baiting out abilities. Like they're having a hard time. Dana is getting picked quite a lot.
Wait, are they gonna win? Okay.
They still might. Oh boy. Oh boy. That makes it
It's getting
so
betsy.
tough, dude. When they wall, honestly, I'm super impressed when May players can get the wall like that. I don't know. Maybe it's easy, but I've seen that a lot too.
So
Go ahead.
this fight was so weird
It
because
was very strange.
Johnny
Shall we go
Johnny
again?
barriers after yeah, we can look at it again
I don't know,
if you want.
All right, we can. I'll just go from here. But yeah, you can say
Yeah.
your point.
So Dana gets insta killed.
Yep.
And like
Yeah.
Johnny barriers to save Daned, and like it's not worth it. The only reason this fight is actually like close is because Hades hits the shatter. I don't think if Hades hits the shatter, like they win. Yeah, this was just weird. This felt like one of those fights in Rush where there are just certain times where everyone will hit Q and things will just like completely deteriorate into just a mess, and then if there's just like one Diva Bomb kill or something like that, like the fight's just won for that team.
Yep.
Like that was just a fucking messy brawl fight.
That's the problem with like these death ball-esque compositions where it's like because every hero that you have is so like synergistically sound with one another, they don't have any kind of like individual. I mean, it's not to say that McCree or Diva doesn't have any kind of individualistic playmaking capability, but because like the win conditions are so focused around playing together, protecting each other, kind of brute forcing your way through and taking those like very like fast-paced, high tempo direct engagements, one piece of that puzzle being removed, like you're saying, is so detrimental to that. Like it just throws so much of a wrench into things. Having Dana not be able to find any kind of value on those initial engagements just within King's Row alone, like 3 separate times just off of my memory, that's enough of a cause to say maybe this is slowing down. Maybe Yab's is getting a better handle on figuring it out. Maybe Shoes Money Crew's not necessarily executing as best they could. I'd like to see a compositional switch up. It doesn't feel great, and it doesn't feel great if you go back to their control submap. I think it was City Center. Like Yab took that map, not convincing, but
yeah, it feels like they're winning. At least for Shoes Money Crew, it feels like they're winning when the map or the part of the map enables Doomfist more so than others. Like third point on King's Row doesn't really like, it's not the greatest point for Doom. Like Doom thrives on point A and point B because they're like much more enclosed. The third point, King's Row, has a lot more high ground where you want to like play around, and I think Doomfist struggles a little bit more on those type, because I think the ending, at least, like that one like last little part.
You're talking about Doomfist attacking or even defending, both.
On the attack. So like that one little last part of King's Row where they didn't finish, like that is a pretty relatively open area of the map where you can very easily, if you're not hitting your cooldowns, you just get kited out and you can get basically taken down. I think what I would expect to see, if we're doing since we're predicting, I would expect to see Shoes Money Crew will always struggle when the map does not enable Doomfist if they continue to play that composition.
It feels like it. It feels like they're not shoehorned in, but they're very comfortable, at least with this early meta game as it progresses with this Doomfist composition. So if they can't,
it feels like I'm watching T1W.
In a way, a lot more structured T1W, but T1W nonetheless, where it feels very Danad centric. If Danad can't play that Doomfist, I'm not sure. Even saying confident feels a little aggressive, which that's not necessarily the case. I just don't know what Shoes Money Crew's like a mirror composition, what that mirror matchup looks like for them. Obviously, they lost that first sub map, but even then, it was still pretty competitive. I'd like to see a little bit more info when it comes to the mirror and less when it comes to just trying to get. I mean, it's not even trying to get Danad in, but just playing standard, not necessarily playing with that pocket pick in mind. I'd like to see a little bit more from them when it comes to that sector.
I want to revisit, and I think those points you're saying actually would lend itself into probably the next in 2 questions from now. Well, the first one being, I want to revisit a bit some of the stakes that we set going into that map. Kenobi, you had mentioned cooldown timing between Doomfist and Zarya. What's your takeaway after watching that match? King's Row, rather.
Yeah, so I think the cooldown management for Shoes Money Crew was still fine. Like, I think what really happened was Yab did a much better job of dealing with their own cooldowns. Like, we saw that one fight where I talked about like the grab advantage and like the support advantage. Like, there was a really, really well timed immortality field like that saved Syka's life from a Doomfist punch. Things like that, I think we're getting a lot better from Yab's perspective, and I think if they can continue to do that, I think they have like a much better chance of winning, because they just basically, your goal against a Doomfist is to not let the Doomfist just run over you and just continue like punch you into walls and take over the game by just these one shot capabilities, right? You need to slow him down, because like I mentioned before, the team kind of torques up the longer it goes, and I think Yab did a very good job on King's Row slowing down the composition.
Volamel, then you had brought up adjustments from the sake of you drew a lot of attention to high ground. I think this is a point we already addressed. We have talked about it a little bit. I don't know if you had any final words on, like, you know, you're going into it and saying like their ability to manage and control high ground is going to be a key to Choose Money Crew. Do you have any takeaways for that?
I think it was apparent on their attack that they did lean that way. Obviously, you saw Cruz like very astutely and you know, having the presence of mind to try and remove them, or at least displace them as they kind of commit that rotation to at least open up that angle of attack from that Doomfist composition. However, that's not to say that the Doomfist can't engage from the low ground. It just opens up a little bit more, or adds some attack paths for them that, you know, the enemy team has to kind of, you know, take into consideration. Even just opening up the possibility of an E-engage is super, super valuable. Just the threat of that alone is super, super important. Now, when it comes to the defense, especially to Kenobi's point, when it comes to, you know, point B and C, it's a little bit more difficult, especially if you don't have map control to be able to set up to have those high ground engages in general. So it's, if it really does, like this Doomfist Zarya composition feels really good when you can actually set up on the map and you can kind of hide your Doomfist, or maybe have him play on the high ground, you know, set up these set plays. But once you're on the back foot, once the enemy team has card control, has point control, has map control, it's difficult to kind of have the composition really set in stone and be able to kind of abuse all of these positional like scarcities, where you don't know that the Doomfist is hiding, you don't know, you know, exactly how far or where the Doomfist is engaging from what high ground he's positioned on. So I guess I lean back on the idea that I'd like to see a little bit of a return to standard when it comes to Shoes Money Crew. I'm very interested in what that looks like, and I would suspect as this match goes on that we'll probably see that when it comes to some of these maps, because they aren't going to be able to play Doomfist forever. There's certain maps where it's not going to be great if you play Doomfist. So hopefully they don't T1W this, and they don't just force Doomfist every single game.
We'll see. So kind of in the interest of time, what I'll probably do is we'll let it roll for more than not. I don't know how you guys are feeling.
Yeah, it's fine. Sure.
And also, is it still a little laggy for you guys, or is it stabilized more?
It tends to break down when fights are happening. So
yeah. Okay, got it.
TBD.
We've been doing fine so far.
All right.
So.
Oh, Rialto. I think I saw that.
A little sneak peek.
I don't know about
sneaky peeky.
That's Havana.
Oh, it's Havana. That first point, hard to see.
Yeah, a little bit.
Let's see what they run.
I wonder if it'll be a little clearer if I do this. If I do 1080p. Dude, when I do 1440p and I'm screen sharing it, yeah, that's where the CPU goes crazy. Goes a little cray. Look a little better for you guys, or
it actually looks worse.
It looks worse?
Not even lying.
I mean, that is download, I guess. So all right, we'll leave it there. All right, let's see here. So all right, just quick check in on our compositions. So these forward holds are pretty standard now, it
I
seems.
love forward holds.
Yeah.
I think teams don't do it enough.
Hmm.
I
Feels
genuinely
very EU.
It's so smart. I actually think it's like so smart because I think it basically, even if you lose the fight, you've still guaranteed yourself second fight no matter what. If
Yep.
you are to take a fight past the first corner and you lose, you basically have lost first point for one fight. So I think just like math, I mean, just like two fights is better than one.
All right, so we should bring this into our games every time then. Forward hold.
Yeah, I think
All right.
close holds like this are OP, especially in rush meta.
Abuse the fact that you can have multiple fights. Abuse the fact that time is a resource in this game. It's something that EU really kind of pioneered when it came to the goats meta, and I kind of running successful with it. Love it.
Okay, Yab though, okay, so Yab fucks up by, and this is kind of like the back and forth between like Immortality Field. Like there, they use Immortality Field really early, doesn't get a ton of value, and this like the mental RAM again that you have to have when you're playing against Doomfist. Like you are always scared that if you don't use Lamp, someone's going to die. So there's like that fear factor as well playing against Doomfist, especially as a Baptiste, where your cooldown becomes hyper important, more so than like not more so in the mirror, but I think just like in general, it's if you fuck up your BAP lamp, no matter what. Now against the Doomfist comp, it's even worse because Doomfist comp has more damage.
Again, Janet gets picked out first. It's getting really scary.
Interesting. Respond with window though. Oh my. Oh my. Oh. Look away.
Just hold window.
Yeah. I'd like to.
Why do you think they use window there?
They're scared.
I think
is it an attempt to stabilize or attempted to get a pick?
I think it's an attempt to stabilize. You know that Dened's coming back. You know that Young and Beautiful is like attacking into you, so you have the ability to kind of like pressure them with window. Like everybody's kiting backwards, they can shoot through the window into the aggressing team. Like there is a thought process to it, but
I think there definitely is. I think it's still a mistake because I think it's wrong because even if you're like able to, I don't know, maybe like trade back a pick, unless it's like a really big pick. Also, the thing is that you used Ant Matrix before Maywall. That's like that's a no because Maywall just basically cucks entirely what Ant Matrix wants to do.
Yeah.
So I think that was just a complete blunder. And then for Young and Beautiful, they just understand that, okay, well, we have Ant Matrix advantage. We'll just basically take all the space away from you. You can't walk out of your spawn without us shooting you and getting kills. Like, it's just not going to be possible. And then I like what they do here is I think they actually lost someone and they just back up and like they aren't pressing their advantage and staying like this is
now could be first time
fight. This is very well played.
I think this would be first fight if you're not forward holding.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fuck, this is just a fucking 6 ultimate fight.
Yeah. That's getting real scrappy.
And scrappy fights do favor the Choose My Crew.
Yep. As people tend to fan out from the Rhine, Doomfist and McCree specifically get a little bit more value.
And Zarya 2 just becomes like a third DPS as a tank. Oh, how did Nico die there? That's no bueno.
No. Choose My Crew is a little low, but unless they can get Dan. Oh, all right.
I'm watching T1W, dude. It's just feels very similar to a team that is just beating their head against a wall against a team that very much understands how to play around you on the specific map. Because this map is not good for second is probably very good for Doomfist because it's so much more.
First is
this
tough.
feels like okay, look at Dan in that last engagement, right? He just he goes in, he doesn't get any value because he's in like a very open area and like has bubble forced on it.
Yeah.
Sick is able to because Yab has map control, just like based on like that last fight engagement, like right, like Choose Many Crew loses the fight, they lose map control, they lose point control, all that stuff. Like everything is in control of Yab here. Yab then has the ability to kind of position wherever they want.
Ooh. I love these replays.
Yeah. The other thing is that
it's so hard for
when you're
Choose Many Crew
Doom in a map like this, you have to basically use every single ultimate or every single cooldown to get in, or you're using your seismic slam and you're using uppercut and then punching out. Which, if you in a perfect world, you want to have all three of those cooldowns available for you to at least trade onto the enemy team.
And that's just to
in this scenario,
do what you want to do
can't.
safely, right?
Yeah.
And it's something could mess up, and you need all those cooldowns up. Yeah.
So because those cooldowns are so important, I would have liked a lot more patient Choose Money Crew when it came to their offense. I would have loved them to walk into that like lower high ground area, kind of clear, sick off the high ground, be able to kind of use that or maybe even threaten that to their advantage, like prolong the neutral fight to posture into a better position to finally be able to kind of get an actual like proper engagement and find a little bit more success with your abilities, because it can't just be like first rotation is poor and just used for posturing. Use the mid fight or the pre-fight to be able to actually get that done first. I think I would have liked to see that stretch out a little bit longer. Obviously, time's still of the essence, but I think if you're going to kind of force this,
I think this is very much comp diff. I genuinely think this is a comp diff at this point, because like you see how Choose Many Crew is also taking close hold, but Choose Many Crew does not have the staying power against a team that is up against Respawn to deal with. And also the map geometry just doesn't favor Doom. Like you saw Doom get a punch onto the Mei, but the Mei just ice blocks it, and then the Doomfist dies.
So what's the difference there? Go ahead.
So the difference between the close hold, I think it's still fine, but I think it's just it shows the difference in the compositions.
I was more gonna say, like, you're saying normally as the fights go longer, then you expect Choose Money Crew to have more power. But it sounds like it might be a little bit. We can kind of drop it for now, I guess. Oh no, I was just trying to be difficult.
Did it again. It's just getting picked. Get me out of this hell. Swap, please. Next map.
Yeah, this is.
It's just not working. It is not as successful. Obviously, I would guess that this is something that they've scrimmed. They feel comfortable with kind of coming into like a very early week in Contenders EU, but as it progresses, I think this is a great tool to have in your scenario, or your repertoire, but it can't be the only thing that you have. You can't be just Doom Zarya one tricks. It is not going to net you success in the long.
They're winning this fight though.
That's fine.
How much time is on the?
It is 2 minutes.
2 minutes, okay.
Again, they have point control, they have map control. This is where Choose Money Crew is going to be successful.
This is why you take close holds. Because you don't get this fight if you take a short hold.
All right, as I say that, then it gets blown up.
Big fucking
shatter.
Oof.
Either of these Ryans are really catching each other, to be fair. I think I saw Ben Best kind of catch one earlier against Hades, kind of blocking a shatter, but outside of that, a lot of these shatters have been money.
I've noticed
big swings.
I feel like with Rush especially, I've noticed a lot more shatters go by each other, and so it just seems like the Ryans aren't necessarily squaring up. Like legitimately, it seems like they're like okay to let the rest of them pass because they have a Mei or survivability around it, like and lamp, and things like that. So the shatters are a little less. Like getting shattered isn't the end of the world. It almost seems like some of these teams are. Yeah.
The weird thing actually is that this part of the A defense is actually pretty decent for Doomfist.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
There's a lot of geometry you can play around in high. Since you're on the defense, you also have first priority on any high ground that you want.
Sure.
Like no matter. So like you see the cafe sign. There's also the part to the right. There's also a lot of geometry you can punch into, which is really important for Doomfist.
Yeah.
Whereas like on the first couple of on the first like half, I would say, of point A, there's not really like any wall. There's walls like around, but it's not as enclosed as is right here.
Right. So, to Volamil's point, right, the geometry is important for Doomfist. Go ahead.
Yep.
So you did see Sika there. kind of go for another flanking Deadeye kind of play. But the plot twist or the audible call there is that they had Naru there with him kind of playing as a bodyguard. He did still get solo grabbed, which again, it seems like ShoesMediCrew is very keen to the idea that, you know, a flanking McCree is able to kind of like throw a big wrench into this.
Are they about to fucking
Nico and Doomfist, by the way?
This is getting
so this kind of goes back to our theory about in elongated fights where things turn to scrap, there are more weapons on ShoesMediCrew's composition than there are for Young and Beautiful to carry, because a lot of the time, like Alex and Danid and Saika are just like, once the fight devolves into just absolute chaos, that's where like Zarya can thrive. That's where Doomfist can thrive, because like Zarya doesn't have a shield to like shoot through anymore.
So I do have to know.
Diva's not really
they at some point swapped to Diva for Alex. I don't know when that happened though. Maybe just at the end.
Just get back quicker.
Sorry, go on.
So without Ryan, like Diva's not going to do jack against Zarya.
Sure.
Like it's just an alt batter at that point. So whenever like the way that like ShoesMediCrew can win a lot of these points is, again, the map geometry has to be, like Joe said, the map geometry has to be like super important. And then if they can, we said this about T1W a lot, if they can somehow drag them down to their level in terms of the chaos, like not like as in like play, but just drag them into the chaos, that's how they have a better chance to win. With
it feels
that it feels like is I think like if I just like put it in like a vacuum, I would say that the composition that ShoesMediCrew is running is worse than the one that is being run from Yab. But if we like just devolve it into just chaos versus like there's just like a bunch of just like X factors that like change the fight, then I think that's where ShoesMediCrew's composition is better.
It feels a lot like just like these Sinner-esque compositions when it comes to League of Legends. It feels like Renekton in a way.
Wait, what did you say? What esque?
They're very Sinner. They're full of sin, where it kind of preys on the idea that the enemy team has to make a mistake for your composition to actually have a window in to be successful. That is a little bit more feasible in a game like Overwatch, where things are very quickly to evolve into just chaos. Especially when you have, you know, a very deathball centric meta game where it's just meatballs running into each other.
Sure.
That post fight, you know, in the mid fight, people are mispositioned. You know, people are kind of doing their own thing. Even just like the slightest, you know, misstep out of the way, you're not playing that specific, you know, angle. You're able to be punished. It's very chaos adjacent. It's very prone to being chaotic, which plays its hand in terms of leaning into ShoesMediCrew's like Doomfist Zarya composition. But even still, a lot of these neutral fights are just kind of going the way of just execution, where it feels like either Danit isn't exiting his first rotation properly, or the bubbles are just getting there late and he's just getting picked. Like, even with all that in mind, like when it comes to like punishing or like just fundamental like compositional like mismatches, like if we're to maybe even disagree that, you know, the Doomfist comp needs mistakes to be made to actually be successful, the fact that Danid is getting picked so often, it's not boding well. Yes, that if memory serves me, it does seem like ShoesMediCrew is up 2-1 if memory serves, but
they are.
It doesn't feel like it. I'll tell you that right now. It doesn't feel like they're in the driver's seat of this game.
Yeah, what's interesting about this, and I think it comes back to some of our discussions too, even with Valorant, right? There's this kind of perfect or like ideal situations, but what is interesting to see is how, sure, he is getting picked, and that's obviously not good, but there's almost maybe some more. This is my note, like going into this map, building off what you're saying, Joe, is that like Danon's getting picked, but what is opening up as an opportunity because of that? Like, what is he doing as inting Doomfist? That is putting them up to 2-1. Like, is it by chance? Are you right in saying? I mean, because I think there's a lot of nuance within that too, to where it's like you can have a player who is at the bottom of the scoreboard if he's bottom fragging.
Sure.
But what is your bottom fragger allowing your team to do? And I think that's probably where my eyes are going to be looking. Is like, really, wait, Danid in doing that, what is he opening up for the team?
To Kenobi's point, he is opening up the possibility that like you're stressing Yab's Baptiste enough to be able to actually get out Lamp. If you can actually force out Lamp with like a feeding Doomfist as
That's a
counterintuitive
trade. I mean, you'll
as
take.
like it is a trade, but it does require some execution in terms of like a man down, right? Like it is still like I don't suspect that Shoes Money Crew is like handshaking a 5v6 to just to get out Lamp. And I'm not trying to say that that's what you're saying either, but in the silver lining of Doomfist getting picked early, that is something that I would argue you oftentimes are seeing, is the fact that Lamp is being forced because of, like Kenobi said, Doomfist is so potent and it is so, quick to get picks, so you actually have to be able to expend that resource a little bit more loosely than you would have liked to in terms of the mirror. So I would imagine that if Dana dies early, Lamp gets traded in the 5v6, can you make something happen, or can you prolong the fight, maybe get a little bit of a posture to wait until Danid can kind of actually get into effective range and engage? It's a possibility there, and I think that's probably how they bring it into the chaotic, it drives them down into Shoes Money Crew's level, a la T1W. But again, I think Yab, I'd like to see them engage first. I'd like to see them up the tempo a little bit more. Yeah, sure. I want to see them force the fights. Don't let Doomfist kind of get these engages. Force them to fight on the back foot. I think that's going to really force them to struggle. It's going to be difficult for them to argue any kind of map geometry. They're not going to be able to kind of fight in these chokes because Yab isn't going to let them if they up the tempo. So, right. And when it comes to Hanamura, it is going to be a little difficult, especially when it comes to defense for Shoes Money Crew. If Shoes Money Crew's positioned on defense, they have the opportunity to have high ground. They have that first priority, like Kenobi said. It's going to be hard for them to actually get in. So it's how do they rotate, where they're taking their fights, and when it comes to offense, I think they want to be the ones to engage.
What are you looking for, Kenobi, going to this next map?
Well, I wonder if they keep playing Doomfist, actually. That would be the one thing that I'd be interested in, because Hanamura, at least on, like, depending on offense or defense, I think...
Yeah.
Doomfist on defense here, I don't like too much. Or I don't know. Or on offense, actually, I really don't like it either.
Yeah, I don't like offense. I'd be more agreeable.
Yeah, defense. Yeah. On defense, I think I'd be happier about it. Offense is just, it feels really hard, and you have to be very linear in your approach. Like, you're gonna go through that first chokehold, and you're going to punch. Whereas on defense, you can like play around some high grounds, but very super linear on offense.
Yep.
So agreed. I would prefer probably something else.
All right. Well, we'll see. We can probably call an audible for Unomas prediction at some point, by the way. Or yeah, sure. We'll lower it to a minute and just be like, all right, if you guys want to make a call, you call the audible, and I'll pause the tape.
We just gotta pick a fight.
Yep,
I think we can.
We'll do a 1 minute. We'll do a 1 minute.
Pick a fight.
Pick a fight. Any fight.
Pick a fight.
Everybody's a winner.
Exactly. Yeah, y'all just stealing my channel points.
Yeah, right.
So again, Doomfist better on defense here. I think just.
So not
overall, then
not
on offense.
Super surprising, but also honestly at this rate, I'm expecting him to play Doomfist for the rest of the series.
Honestly, God, yeah. At this point,
it honestly feels like I'm back in time watching T1W. To be honest, it's like, why even bother thinking anything else is gonna happen? It's just always gonna be Doomfist.
It's like y'all keep being angry at Doomfist. My team's winning. You know, I mean, maybe that's part of the.
I mean, true.
They aren't swapping off the sim.
Are they just going to do the TP strat to
so you talk about increasing pace, Volamel? That would be an interesting way to do that. Just getting on a point.
That it would.
There you go. Oh, interesting. Upper right.
Dan had missed his timing on the punch. So what Dan was trying to do there...
Good.
So Dan was trying to uppercut or Seismic Slam uppercut so that when they go through the TP, they aren't able to do so, and they can just secure the kill. Also, I genuinely dislike doing this against the Doomfist comp. I think it's a pretty hard int, to be honest. Like
it does up the tempo, but it forces you to take
this is
fights into
the
a
last
Doomfist
place
area.
you want to be is a Doomfist
Near all the walls,
who's
right?
gonna be able to-
Yep.
Yeah.
Why do you
just
say
can't
that?
fight here.
Yeah.
So their goal is to like the TP directly onto point, and
Yep.
then they want to just like start accruing percentage and start
Yep.
accruing ticks. The problem is Doomfist now can come from like any direction onto this. You're in a very enclosed area, so Seismic Slam is going to get a lot of value. Punch will most likely secure at least a lot of damage into a wall, and this is the worst place you want to fight against Doomfist, like in a closed encountered place like this.
He just got booped away.
Boop.
Did you see
Huge
that
boop from Cruz.
boop? Holy moly.
I think he b-hopped it. You can b-hop shatters now, by the way. That is the thing you can do.
Wait, like the Reinhardt b-hopped? Wait.
Yeah, you can do like a b-hop shatter. He might have been like a booped, but there's a possibility that he b-hopped.
Okay. Yeah, I think
that's a new tech people have come up with, is that you can like do a b-hop shatter, like a double jump.
Okay, interesting.
It's so weird.
What's the intention of that?
Increase mobility to
increase the mobility and also throw the opponent off guard to where your shatter is going to be coming from, just like direction, because you have a lot more time to play around with where your shatter is going to come from while you're in midair, so you can like
interesting. Yeah, that was definitely one where he tried to go by the Reinhardt and shatter beyond the Reinhardt shield, but then got booped backwards, and he almost looked like he got double booped. Honestly, he was in there for a little while.
This is where
still on Doomfist
is gonna struggle
because of openness of the point, or
yeah, if they can get through this initial choke point, it's gonna be
they have
really
to get
difficult.
to point for Doomfist to start being an issue. I mean,
if
the thing is like,
if you see Yab actually like 6-man get there, then it's not going to be easy for Dana to get value.
Ooh.
The thing is that Doomfist, like in these stall scenarios, like does gain a lot of value just because of the potential to one shot.
So I mean, he got a lot of ulti. He got a lot of ultimate charge there.
Yeah, I don't know. They layered sound barrier and amp.
Yeah, so sound barrier and amp are out for Young and Beautiful.
For one grab and Doomfist follow. That's it.
I mean, this is kind of playing out to the point you're bringing out, Kenobi. Is that like you're just getting these cooldowns out of him by purely having a Doomfist? Doesn't matter that he's inting.
And they're gonna win because Doomfist on defense is broken. Yeah, I mean,
and get some easy picks, but yeah, if you can secure actually getting to the point as 6, I think that's very valuable into the Doomfist. Obviously, it didn't work out, but I think the thought process is still.
I think blundered that though really hard. I think using sound barrier is like one thing. Actually, like even though, because like Alex yeets that grab from like halfway across the map. Are you really worried about Doomfist follow up into your like? I mean, is it really that much damage? Like realistically,
well, I don't even know if it's Doomfist. It's everybody else, right? Like
no one was there.
Yeah, like nobody else is there.
Like no one can make it to the grab.
And Solar had just died. He was respawning.
Yeah. And then now
this is as good as it's gonna get. Dennett had all, which is unfortunate. Gets picked though. No value. Yes, this is a cap.
Yeah, this is a bit of a. I mean,
the initial issue is that first choke point, and it didn't seem like MooshuBeef was. It didn't feel like they were engaging at all. Like they were letting them kind of space themselves to like the midpoint of like the catwalk area above the bridge into main. I kind of expected them to kind of take a very close engagement. I think that would have been a little bit more successful. Or Choose Money Crew.
Okay.
Choose Money Crew.
They were playing
I think they wanted to be a little bit more proactive when it came to Yab pressing through these choke points. I think they wanted to kind of take their fights in these chokes. And they were letting Yab kind of space out, create the distance away from the Doomfist, so it makes it a lot more difficult for Dana to actually get something done. removes a lot of the options that he has. So with that, he's punished. They can get onto point, and obviously you kind of saw what happened. It's difficult once you can get the death ball to the point. Doomfist has a hard time getting it done. And yeah, this is I don't suspect this is going to go great.
If we want to pause predict here,
let's do it.
What I expect to happen is that Shoes Money Crew is going to just walk forward. Dana is going to straight punch into the team of Young and Beautiful. Pray that there's a pick, or pray that they force that immortality field. If they do, they win. If they don't, they go back to spawn. Like, that's my prediction for this.
As in, like, they're going to change. They're going to change their comp, or you just mean they just wait until the cooldown's out again.
They'll try it again. I don't expect this team to switch at all based on what I've seen so far, but I think they're just going to continuously beat their heads against this wall of this chokehold until it works, if it ever does. I think, like, I guarantee that, like, Dana is just gonna hold his shift button, just punch straight forward into the team of Young and Beautiful, pray that he gets a pick or forces out a cooldown, and the fight's gonna devolve from there. Because there's no really other entryway for Doomfist in this map.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's going to come down to Yab and where they take their fight. If they try to be a little aggressive and push out of that first kind of main choke point, it's going to be really playing into Shoes Money Crew's favor. I think the fight will probably progress very similarly to what you're saying, where Dana, is taking a very direct engagement straight into this meaty death ball composition, and they're hoping to kind of get some ult out of this. And I think either two things are going to happen. Either he's going to bait out some abilities from Yab, and they're going to engage on him anyways, or he gets picked. I find it very difficult. And obviously there's a third one where, like, Dana gets the pick and they win the fight, but I think it's much more likely that he probably gets maybe immortality field out early, but they don't necessarily care, because there's so much, a lot of the damage potential is off the table, right? Like, yes, you're handshaking the damage potential to immortality field. Doomfist cooldowns are a lot more, quickly to come back than immortality field is. But the fact that you have the Mei and that initial kind of elbow that Hanamura A has, it's tough to, fight against a Mei wall. And the fact that you can't answer back with that to say, like, to shut the door on them and kind of keep them at a distance and buy time for that Doomfist, or just be aggressive and push through that choke, or maybe even wall out to create some space to rotate in to kind of take a different engagement. Like, they don't have the ability to do that. So I think it is going to go exactly how Kenobi's saying, but I'm just not positive. I do not think Shoes Money Crew is going to be able to get in here.
So what do we want to make the prompt? Is that, does he only punch at choke point and they wait for a pick at choke point? So are you saying that you think their strat necessarily, that the strat is going to be continuously the same and that they will be stubborn?
Yeah, I think they'll be stubborn.
Okay,
I think they'll be stubborn.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll say this: does SMC rely only on well, yeah, maybe we'll say that. Do they stay on Doomfist? Want to say that?
Yeah,
sure.
That works.
Only for A.
I don't think me and Kenobi are going to be disagreeing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've seen enough T1W to know where this goes.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the right way to make this make this a good prompt. Let's okay, I think I like this. So does SMC only go in on a Doomfist pick? Because that's kind of what you're saying, right? Is that they're just waiting, yeah. They're just like, all right, anytime, man, when you're ready to get a pick, and then we'll go in. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, it's not that they're waiting. I think they have to be they have to kind of like feint proactivity to kind of get something out of Yab. But if Yab doesn't bite on that, if they don't kind of expend kind of resources, then it's tough for Shoes Money Crew, or it's tough for Shoes Money Crew to actually get in there and actually get things done. Like, if Yab like really holds firm, and even if they do, like, again, just handshake lamp for maybe like a rotation of Doomfist cooldowns, I do wonder if it's not worth it for Yab to kind of just press into them, knowing that Doomfist is off the table for a couple seconds, wall out the Rhine, and just pressure their own kind of resource trade there.
Yeah,
So
well,
it's
because what would be the alternative, right? Is that they maybe say the Doomfist dies and they still continue to fight, right? I guess what's the alternative,
maybe.
right?
I mean, in this neutral fight, there's really no alts that are coming online. That's where it gets kind of dicey for me, where you still have to start to scale. Like you don't have any residual charge from last fight. Like if this is the first fight of your attack, you need this to go kind of your way, because if it doesn't, it's gonna be progressively harder. Well, if anything, it actually won't be progressively harder because you're gonna be building alts and whatnot.
I'm gonna nix the prediction here because it's gonna be kind of tough to like. I think there's a lot of ways it can go, but I think, I mean, just because what you just did was you call left corner pocket, right?
Sure.
So let's watch and see if it plays out. But yeah, I'm gonna say we'll keep an eye out for another one.
It'll be about the
the alternative. The alternative is kind of like feels weird, right? It just feels kind of yeah. But let's see it.
Maybe it's just a predict and not a pause and predict.
Yeah.
Well, which is still good. It's still in the format.
Okay, let's see.
All right. Trying to bait out wall.
Just gonna fucking
kind of passive, if anything.
Oh, they forced out immortality.
Yeah. Ryan just gets pounded.
Holy moly.
Oh, now they win.
Yeah, probably.
What is happening?
Response. This is a...
Yeah, so you go in, you force out immortality like super early, and then your Zarya's torqued, your Doomfist is...
I don't like that Yabber was just so passive. Like, they tucked into the corner. They let them come in. I kind of wanted them to fight at the choke.
Yeah. I think they got caught off guard because I think they're...
Because they all got by the choke.
Yeah, the wall was super late. I don't think they expected Shoes Money Crew to just literally run at them like that with Doomfist leading the way. Like, Doomfist went in before the Rhine did. So I think they just got completely caught off guard by like a very aggro play coming out from Shoes Money Crew. Now Doomfist is going to fucking struggle pretty hard here, I think.
Dude, they are somehow finding their way past Yab.
Yeah,
it's like Yab wants to
the best engagement instead of just being proactive. Like it feels like they're in like paralysis, where like they're waiting for that perfect moment and it's just not going to come. You kind of have to just force them just force a tempo change. That's been my big like red line through this whole thing, is like be the ones to engage and force maybe a Zarya bubble to go to somebody else that they wouldn't expect, right? Like force like force Danad back on the back foot, like force Shoes Money Crew to kind of be reactionary to your aggression. Yes, this is it. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This isn't exactly where you want to take this engagement with the death ball, but the fact that you're being proactive is what's getting you this win. Look at the alt charges. Like they were coming into this like with bank and they lose.
Right.
This is what I want.
Especially since you have Mace, so you can manipulate the terrain to your advantage any way that you want.
Yep.
Yeah, look, having our... Right, good.
No, that was it.
Please don't be passive.
Oh boy. Oh
boy. On the choke.
Where is the team?
Team? Why is he flying into the wall? What happened?
That was...
I think they just fucked up their fucking fly. I genuinely don't.
I mean, they're out there a little too long too.
Oh,
there's a tick on. Somber by Cruz was good.
Oh, that was going so well. I mean, yeah, they can stabilize, but it's expensive.
Oh, he did the
Ben Best is a Ben Best is a crackhead when it comes to Ryan, bro.
I think that was a genuine C9.
That's a C9.
Genuine C9. Oh no.
Oh
God.
Dude, they're in Danid's world, dude. Is all I gotta say. They're in Danid's world. They're in SMC's world.
What are they fucking doing? What? Hello?
They're in SMC's world, dude.
Sick is off point.
Sick is just...
That's just where he's been positioning.
That's just
right. So, well, I mean, maybe it was the proactivity. They're trying to be more proactive. They certainly were.
Where was the loser?
But they weren't on the point.
No, they weren't on the point because
They were all
because
alive.
Naru gets demeched like and picked because he messes up his flight.
Yeah, that was super unfortunate.
That's such a like that's one of those things that like that's not something that probably ever happens in scrims. That's just like
playing against Doomfist.
Yeah.
No, it has nothing to do with Doomfist. It's just like
just a fuck up.
Yeah, it's just like the biggest fundamental like, oh my god, where are my ankles?
If Yab does this Symmetra shit again, I'm gonna get fucking pissed.
It's where they go. It's not that the Symmetra is necessarily bad. It's just where they.
If they just go directly onto point and they
wrong,
they just
incorrect.
They don't keep track of where the Doom is, then like what's the point? You know how this worked last time.
Yeah. Spot the Doom. Go.
What? Where? Why is Alex over here? What?
I think SMC was trying to be proactive.
Proactive into the sim and the May.
Yeah, I mean now just go to fucking point. They just gave you the.
Let's just go to B.
For free.
You guys don't believe in Danid. You guys don't believe in Danid. Here's not believing in Danid right now.
No, not like this. Okay.
No.
Both these teams are just pooping back and forth. Like genuinely.
A little bit.
C9 and then this happens. Like.
So I mean, I do want to bring up a point because I think there's something that actually tends to happen. I've definitely seen this before, to where a team out of their comfort zone will not do. We'll forget some fundamentals or are forced out of that situation.
Agree.
I think there needs to be some kind of. I feel like I see it often enough where there could be a term that you put to it. This fight's not auto-vert, by the way, as well. Apparently.
No, good lord.
And it's just massive.
I mean, Danid's alive with Pocket now. He can carry this. He is. Yeah. Oh my god! They're gonna hold.
There's something to be said about a team that creates chaos and brings them to their own world and their reality. And
this is dead. So they lose a lot of stuff.
All right. Does Yab get the point?
I guess he did it at like 2 health. Just about to fucking run.
I'm gonna say Yab gets the point.
Yab gets
Lock
the point.
it in. Final answer, Regis.
Yeah. I don't need to phone a friend or anything.
All right, really? All right. Yes, Yab wins.
Yep, Yab.
No, Yab. Yep, Yab, and no Yab.
Yep,
all right,
Yab.
Predictions are in. Does Yab get the point? 1 minute prediction here. I'm gonna say no.
1 minute.
I'm gonna say no.
Yep.
Just to throw in coins on the other side.
To donate some channel points.
Yeah, we gotta make sure y'all win and stuff.
Yep, Yab.
I mean, to Kenobi's point, I agree. I think MooshuBeef is really thriving in the chaos. I think when Yab has been proactive, they've been successful. They forced Danid to kind of get, force some errors out from them. But they're not being consistent in that, which is strange to me, especially when you look at a team with as many Owl veterans as you have. I would kind of expect that out of them, if I'm going to be completely honest. I would guess that this would be the team out of maybe some other contenders teams to kind of really, leverage the pros and cons of picking such a off meta composition, what it looks like.
All right, let's roll a tape. Predictions are in. Predictions are locked.
Locked and loaded.
All right. Probably not the best pause and predict, but
nope.
No.
I felt a little bit of, you get that feeling. It's also why I don't gamble very much. I'm like, this seems like a situation.
What if I could win?
All right, they're immediately here in point already.
This is a good ult from Psycho. Good ult from
It removes all potential that the Doomfist has. The fact that you can just teleport across the way. The beauty of actually.
Oh yeah, loses this now. Yeah, loses this. They lose this.
Why do you say that?
Boombox died.
Yeah.
The second
And they're-
Boombox dies, they lose. They can't win.
They don't have anything. They've spent a lot of their resources getting in. The fact that Shoes Money Crew has
In a
ults to be able to
composition like
approach
this, your BAP is basically like your only, like Lucio can hypothetically if you have
Yeah.
amp it up, but even then, like BAP is your main heal. Losing your BAP in a situation like that first, like you can't come back from that unless like some miracle happens.
Do
But
you know?
Or you just have something to overcompensate. Like you don't
Yeah,
have
if
like
you had,
there
like,
is no
sound
blizzard
barrier.
or sound barrier or something to be at least buy you some time to kind of
Yeah.
create some picks. They didn't have anything. Like it was just dry. Boombox dies. It's a watch.
Yeah. It's
So Yab is the official.
hell yeah. Give me my points.
Enjoy my channel points. All right, Shoes Money Crew on the attack.
Oh my god.
Is it the old rinse and repeat? What
They're just playing
is
Doom all the
Yab?
time.
Yeah, so is Yab going to fall for the same thing? Are they going to be proactive? Are they going to be?
I'm gonna say they just fucking send it. I think they amp it and send it
How
around
much
that
time do
corner.
they have?
I don't know.
There's
2
3
minutes, a
minutes,
minute.
29 seconds, and they had 2 minutes. This is 3:29 on the clock.
They should at least get first. Realistically, unless they like play this really bad.
I think if Yab actually like keeps the tempo high on this round, I think they can fold them. But they have to just
Alright,
kind of
let's
like
watch
send it.
Janet
It's gonna be
just fucking-
uncomfortable. It might be a little sloppy.
Janet
You
Cam.
just gotta go.
Same
Just
lineup.
go. Go.
They're just going
Yep,
again.
there you
No,
goes.
no go. Okay.
Same
great.
thing. Same thing, dude.
Force.
Same thing.
Immortality filter, both teams are out.
Yeah,
Sab
they
is.
traded.
But they're on
It's a
high
mess.
ground though.
It's a mess.
Yab is on high
mess.
ground mostly.
Which they should have been
Right.
previously. Like they should not just play into the Doomfist like they were. So that's a good adaptation from them.
Agreed. Sika's kind of going for a wing
Or at least
here,
keep
which
your
is
back
interesting.
on like keep the people who can be on high ground on high ground. Don't let them ever be near the Doom.
And they're in. You kind of
They're in.
have to give them that.
Because of respawns.
Yeah. You have to kind of seed ground to be able to kind of coalesce, and this is where Doom probably. Oh, big shatter.
Big shatter.
Look how
The fights.
much he survived.
I don't know if they're getting picks there. Okay. we got it.
Dan's off.
It's
What?
fine. Sorry, still alive.
That's not-
Sorry, still alive. Doesn't matter.
Dude, this is
This
the
is
second
the-
time
this-
Johnny's done that. I mean, Lucio is the person to do that.
You need to. So they didn't get picks quick enough, which was why they lost that. In a composition like this against like what we were talking about with like elongated fights, like you need to get picks extremely quickly, and you need to
But
win
you're-
fights convincingly as well.
It's like they're, yes, you do need to do that, but the time that they have is spent trying to not die from Danid.
Yeah.
What are
the
they fighting? I can't tell what's happening.
So
Yeah,
sick.
well, yeah. So Yab is coming out. That
Yes.
forward hold. Now they're
Thank
back in.
you.
Now they're back in.
Is
Good.
SMC actually going to go on to point without immortality? Please tell me that's not true.
Fight them,
they
yeah.
are.
Go, yes.
Big wall.
I love this.
Yab is
This
playing
great.
this perfectly.
This is
actually.
much better. The kill feed doesn't represent it, but I think they're in a good position.
Yeah, they have
See,
respawns too.
The
Shatter,
series score does not represent how close it was. Got it.
Yes, exactly.
You know, I hate that
Close
it's
to
like
Close
I
to
hate that that's often said, but it really is.
it
true.
is true. There's also
Yeah.
not really a much better way to say it.
Again, press them. Get out there. Be proactive. Look what happened. They had to take this like piss baby main choke push.
Yeah. What is
I'm gonna clip that, and that's gonna be my sub alert.
I really just.
Please.
This is so hard to work
Oh.
with. Like what? Like what?
Where's the
like
bubble?
come on, brother.
No bubble.
It shouldn't be that hard to execute. Just
I mean-
hit your bubble.
I mean, they've been doing it.
Maybe he got blown up. Did he get blown up? Maybe he got blown up.
Yeah, he got blown up because he didn't get bubbled.
He didn't have bubble.
No, I
He
mean
should've
maybe
got
did the
flashbang.
bubble get? Yeah, okay, yeah. I saw him punch into
He
a
just
flashbang
yeeted.
range.
Out. It's a touchy timing to Shoes Money Crew's credit. Like it is like a very particular timing that you have to kind of land that on. So it's It's not easy,
don't
but
let him go in raw. Just
yeah, no, agreed.
Oh
like
boy.
that's the one
boy.
thing that you have to get right.
Oh,
And
a
if you
sneaky
can't
boy.
get
A sneaky
that,
boy.
I'm
okay.
My God.
Pause for a sec.
pause this.
All right, we're
Pause.
pausing.
I think this is this is very interesting because he has 21 limbs,
Yeah.
16 deaths. This is not a very good KDA just in general, but he does have 14 final blows. So like
Sure.
this tells me that he really is playing Inting Doomfist. Like this is what I see here, is that this is very much an Inting Doomfist
It's
style
aligned with the
I just like can't agree with that. Yes, I agree that that's what's happening, but I can't agree that that's like the macro plan that they have approached this game with, where it's just
I
like,
don't know
Daned,
if they're doing that.
go. You know what I mean?
apparently he's
Yeah,
I mean
you can play it
reportedly from our friend in chat, they did say he calls it Inting Doomfist.
I don't know. Maybe
Maybe as
you can play.
maybe to own his
I need another drink.
Yeah.
Actually, on
He gets
point.
on point.
Yep.
Yeah, but this doesn't matter. What the fuck?
What was that going to do?
Oh boy.
You know?
Oh boy. I mean,
That
You had time. Like
he could touch, but yeah.
oh
it's
boy,
cheeky.
draw.
Dude, I mean,
Fogger.
who else is gonna play like this, you know?
To go to the next one.
I can't tell you though. That's the issue. I can't argue with that. I know Daned could, but
All right,
Oh god.
we're in a tie. I think we
want
kind of
Yab to be more aggressive.
I think we kind of know where this is going.
Ugh.
Why don't we watch the 6th map at least? Or well, I don't know. Because this is map 5. That means the Shoesman crew has to win this map.
Yeah.
If we get it. I mean, is there a map 6? Oh, there isn't. This doesn't look like.
Shoes Money Crew wins this map.
Oh, how?
So we're obviously cheating a little bit.
So bad on this map too.
See, this is where we get our again, what's so interesting, and I found the same thing about like doing this with Volamel is we're looking at this is that the academic so it could be one or two things, right? When our academic read on the game isn't the exactly perfect read, or the academicness is not, that's not a word. The academic approach is clearly not always the clear answer. And I think there is more to be said about that. Like, Volamel, I want you to coin a term that is about bringing a team into your reality. Because this is something that I feel like you could probably point to a couple teams and many different esports where this is a thing. I mean, Chengdu Hunters being one of the premier examples.
Probably
You Titanic them. Just fucking bring them down.
that feels like it.
Bring them into
What was
your
the name of the
reality.
Iceberg.
Change the
You
rules.
Iceberg them. Just
Iceberg.
Because this is not going away, I'm sure. I mean, maybe when infrastructure and whatnot like gets more, like you can certainly say like when a team is playing the perfect academic comp, I can totally see where that gets snuffed out. But like I do think that this innovation will always be there.
also good on Shoesmaker for taking full close hold. Like that. We love that.
Agreed.
Gonna always praise teams for doing that because I think it's really smart. And teams don't do it enough.
Looking at NA.
Yep.
Gate, tough to press in, but they do anyways.
Unlucky wall timing there.
Yeah.
That was a shatter into his own May wall.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna be honest with you. I think using Ant Matrix that way is actually really not good, because I think Shoes Money Crew's composition can get to you faster than you can take them down.
Sure.
Like, because you have Zarya Bubble, you have Rhine Shield, and you have Doomfist. Doomfist will supersede Doomfist can just go in. Zarya can bubble herself and someone else. You can just basically rush at them, and you don't have to worry. Like, you can go past Ant Matrix, which I think is exactly what happened.
I was surprised
it's
by
actually
that.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I think that's the mindset of playing against a team that is running mirror into you.
Yeah, agreed.
Instead of a team that is playing this composition.
And that feels kind of the theme of this match in general. No, like knowing what we know now, that Yab loses this map and it goes Shoes Money Crew's way. it doesn't feel like the proper adjustments were really kind of.
They've been on the same
Set
comp the
place.
entire time. Like
Both teams have.
I wouldn't hate like seeing Zarya here instead of Diva. Like at least
For
to try and
Yab?
like to try and get try and give like at least you have bubble for the ability to keep your backline alive because you can't defense matrix like Doomfist cooldowns. It's just not possible. Like something I would like to have seen something. Maybe it's not like the most optimal thing, obviously, but something has just not been working.
Changing something.
Playstyle hasn't changed it. So I mean, why not just start changing heroes at that point? Even though this is like the best comp right now.
Yeah.
It's obviously not working.
But it's I don't know. It's the best comp into itself, and maybe like just for the field. But if you're not piloting it right, then something has to change. Whether you side with me and it's the tempo,
are you
or
saying,
maybe even just changing it to Zarya.
Are you saying SMC should be changing, or that should be changing?
No, Yab should be changing, because Yab has been on the same composition for every single map, and like Shoes Money Crew obviously has gotten to a point where they are able to deal with whatever Young and Beautiful throws at them. So at this point, like if I'm Young and Beautiful, like why not just switch over to Zarya?
I mean, for this particular, I think in general that certainly makes sense. But in this particular moment, they're winning, right? Like, what's interesting about this point is that
how much time do they have on the clock?
2 minutes 51 seconds. So they're going through pretty relatively quickly. They're on a very solid pace right now.
Sure.
2:43, and they're basically going to. Okay, that's a big tweet. I think that's right. They're gonna arrive to this. It's gonna be 5 minutes. 4 minutes rather. Excuse me. 4 minutes going into.
This is where Doomfist gets really scary.
It's really, really good, especially on defense, because you again have the ability to pick and choose where you want to come from on any high angle. Young and Beautiful don't really have the ability to pick and choose where the Doomfist comes from, which they can do on like more open parts. And also it's like super enclosed, so Doomfist just thrives geometry. How
many teams do you actually see just like barrel out of that top choke?
Yeah, not a lot.
I don't see too many like.
That was just some alpha fucking play.
They just go.
Yeah, they're
and I want to see Yab do that. I think that's like a good way to like see a different look from Shoes Money Crew, to see like, okay, and it seemed like it was like at least relatively successful on Hanamura when it came to point B, but it feels like Yab is always like playing behind the 8-ball when it comes to these engages.
This flank.
They wall to be what? Defensive?
Why
into their own gate?
Why are we matching Ant Matrix there? You're not gonna kill anything. You're like, okay, that's just like, okay, if you save it, you can use it right here and you kill everyone.
At least you're in a better position. And yes, at least it looked good, but
like I feel like again they're playing this very much like they're playing against a mirror comp when they're not. They're playing against something entirely different. It feels like
can you dive into that a bit more because of the what
so like in a mirror. So like in a mirror, sorry I cut you off. In like a mirror where it's like it's very much like, okay, it's very much like formulaic in terms of like how you want to play. Like, okay, they're using Ant Matrix, we have to use our Ant Matrix in return, or we're going to use our Ant Matrix to zone them off as they approach us, right? Whereas in this composition that Shoes Money Crew is playing, like when we've seen every single time that we've seen Boombox try and use Ant Matrix to like stop them from coming forward, they say, we don't give a fuck, we have Doomfist Zarya, we're going to run at you, and it's not going to get any value. So it feels like they're very much playing this as if they're playing against a composition like the mirror, where they can fight on even footing, where Shoes Money Crew, it just does not want to fight on even footing whatsoever.
I see.
I really don't know the specifics on how these McCrees are getting so much value with Deadeye, but I really don't think it should be allowed.
No, it's used as a zoning tool mostly. Like whenever I see it, like if you get like we talked about,
I would imagine as well. But the fact that they're getting double kill after double kill, you look at point A, I think both sides like answered each other in terms of double kills. Like it's just getting so sloppy, and it feels like Yab is just like going through the motions at this point.
Well,
yes, they're winning this fight, but just like the map as a whole, like they were in the driver's seat for the most part, off of like Shoes Money Crew's
1 minute left.
errors.
Yeah, 55 seconds right now. that was really unlucky.
I like
It went
this
onto the
bomb. It's
platform.
proactive.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's good proactive bomb. It's another just wasted ant matrix. Like,
Where would you prefer to see that? Where do you prefer to see that?
in a neutral fight rather than a reactionary thing,
I
or
see.
like proactively, like
Sure,
use it to
sure.
aggress. Because like Boombox has been using it a lot reactionary, where it's not like they're pushing the advantage, right? Like even in the fight that just started this out, like once they got to third, like they used Ant Matrix to counter the one coming out from Choose Money Crew. Every time I've seen an Ant Matrix, it's been a reactionary thing to something that Choose Money Crew is doing. Where I would prefer to see it a little bit more proactively and just like trying to take space away or trying to secure some kills.
I'd like to see them kite back with it, then try to use it, like bait out the initial Doomfist engage, use it, try to bust shields, and then play off of that.
I mean, Dana, what the
like?
fuck?
I mean, that was layered on top of a.
What? What is this?
It was layered on top of a Blizzard as well, but certainly it does feel like, yeah. I mean, I have noticed that too. It's like maybe the chaoticness of these fights and how they're going. Just the McCrees are being marked less, right? Because you're worried about this.
I'd suspect that the Zarya team would fall prey to some cheeky deadeyes every once in a while. That feels like that's maybe where Sika is playing. And some of those, you look at King's Row, you look at there's been a few times where he's playing on the flank with his deadeye, and I think it was Havana on point A. I made the point that like he had like the Diva pocket with him. Like it feels like that's like Choose Money Crew is the team to kind of fall prey to Deadeyes actually getting value, but it's both teams, and it's not what you'd expect. It's not something to be. It's not a good sign.
Sure,
I'll say that. I think
there's
too much. As much as I'm calling for Yab to be proactive, it feels like Ben Best is being a little too aggressive with his shield resource, or maybe his health as a resource. Yeah, it's messy. It's not as tight as I would expect a bunch of Owl players to be. So
yeah, that's the thing that's also weird, is that this is like I feel like they probably have like seen like stuff like this before, and it's just like the fact that they like are not better at dealing with it, I guess is the word that I would use. It's just like a little bit shocking to me. Close hold again, yay.
Alrighty, what are we looking for going to this half?
Yab needs to go.
Yeah, proactive.
They're thinking too much about their engages.
I want to see Boombox.
Dumb as that sounds.
I want to see Boombox use a Ant Matrix before Sab. Right, that's Sab, right? I can't.
Yep.
Okay, first wall, they go.
Immortality. Okay, Danad gets a kill, but they trade it back. This is.
I mean, my kind of read on like why this is working is that like there's so much attention having to be put on Danad that Solar is able to do so much.
It's
like the team is just able to do a lot more around it.
Yeah.
And so it almost feels like if you're like if I were to ask Choose Money Crew, and I'll be curious to check out the interview after, maybe off air or whatever, they're probably asking why do you do Doomfist so much? And it's like, well, it's our answer to Rush, because compositionally Rush wants to stay together, and this is our way to disrupt it. We don't need to win every fight, we just need to win a fight, 2 fights per point, something like that.
Feels like they're playing Moneyball. It's like we need to just win this one fight. It doesn't matter if we win every fight, but
Sick is down again. That's the second time he's gotten that pick. And he's gonna get traded back.
I don't know when Boombox used that Ant Matrix, but probably won't be happy with it.
I like how he's jumping on the dumpster to try to get the swings in. Dude, look how much pressure. Dude, Solar has no pressure on him.
Yeah, I will say that Sika does not feel like he has a ton of presence in this composition. Like there have not been too many times. I think it has to do with. No, I don't think it has anything to do with how, or what hero he's playing. I think it's the right hero. It's just maybe how often he's flanking, just maybe his performance in this match in particular. He's very much a non-factor, and then it might come down to like dumping so much into trying to deny Dennett.
Hey, well, a little Dennett cam here.
By the way, Alex has been good at Zarya. Very impressed. I mean, they're not like playing the most mechanically demanding style of Zarya, but it's been pretty good for someone that I know as like most player.
For sure.
Like you're kind of just like your bubble bot for. That's a nice grab. Love that.
Even looking at Dennett's positioning, like changing up where you're coming from, you don't expect him to be kind of flanking and coming from behind you. Like it's.
I'm like, what do you do against that? What do you do against that? Like you're not only facing the Dennett who has bubble on him too. You're getting shot down by Solar as well. I mean, very very clearly getting to Sika first. Like it's actually insane how reliably they're getting to him on this attack.
I mean, to kind of answer Jay in chat, I really don't know. I think Alex has been good. I think his graph pipes and Smiths have been solid. I think the bubble timings have been a little dicey. I'd be interested to see how Shoes Money Crew progresses if Sigma is very much like Alex.
He's not playing like a very, like I said, like not a very mechanically.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's answered, right? Like, yes, he can play the Zarya to like a sufficient degree, but is this more of Yab not really adapting? Like at this point, it just feels like they're falling over. Even in the neutral, like they're really not doing much of anything. Like they're just kind of Shoes Money Crew is flanking with Danned and just finding all kinds of different looks to be able to throw Young and Beautiful. Like,
I mean, that's.
I mean, he's certainly getting 40 bubble charge every time Danned goes in.
Sure, yeah.
He's which isn't hard to do. Like genuinely,
especially when you're winning fights.
Yeah. Also, just with Doomfist comps, you're never suffering for charge like ever.
Oh.
Jeez,
if you're playing it correct.
I'm really curious.
Stats are like bikinis. They show a lot, but they don't show everything.
Did you really say that? Oh no!
I think
I kind of like that a lot, but I'm never gonna say that. I'm never going to say that.
What the fuck? Like what?
Yeah, it's over. This is done. I'm done with this.
Oh, they're beating. What? Oh,
this is done.
Oh, they're boomed.
Done.
They're boomed. They're actually mentally tilted.
They're not here anymore. Old and ugly.
Oh, good.
So, are you okay? Let me try and interpret some of your groans. You're seeing abilities used, like ultimates, especially being used in situations where they probably shouldn't be, and they're definitely not optimal, and they are not putting themselves in positions where
it's Nico getting picked early. It's literally nothing has changed about like their like
as a May. I assume either he's not getting healed or he like which
I don't think he ice blocked, if I had to guess. I think he just didn't expect it.
Yeah, I don't think he expected it. But like he shouldn't be in a position where he can just die to fire strike insta on the side for no reason. I mean, they still held, so
Sure. But
okay, this is good. So this was good. This is very good. Like what happens right here is exactly what I think they should have done earlier, where Boombox uses his Ant Matrix aggressively and they kill Stab. Like this is how you should be. Like when they're far enough away from you and they don't want to and they can't engage, that's when you should use Ant Matrix. And they do.
The key there to that point is where they can't engage. Like there's such a lane of attack here that creates a good enough distance that Shoes Money Crew has to close so much. There's so much of a gap
between the truck and the
exactly. So it's not about aggressively or defensively for me. It's where you're placing it and how you're utilizing it. It can't just be these short like corners that you're playing with the defense or not defense matrix, but amplification matrix. Like you have to be able to kind of keep the distance to be able to utilize it because, like you're saying, they will just run you down and just pound you. This is like a great.
I agree with what you're saying, and I see the adjustments, but at the same time, so they're playing high ground here to watch out, for Danid, and they're playing the space, and D.Va is scouting. Yeah. But somehow, Danid comes in here, past the D.Va, and they insta-kill Sika. Dude, do you see everyone he's in the middle? Like, how do you, what do you do?
So this is where I would have liked to have seen This is a moment where Zarya offers more peel than the D.Va does. Because you can bubble the McCree, and the McCree doesn't get insta-given.
Whatever the Doom target is, you can actually answer that protection.
Because D.Va's just not going to keep up with. D.Va's just not going to keep up with.
Yeah.
Like, D.Va is a good hero. Like, overall, just does like a lot of good things. In this specific moment, I think at least trying the Zarya would have been better.
I mean, if they don't change it up on this next one, dude, like that, he was in the middle of like 3 people.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is like there's not much they can do as long as the bubble timing's correct, and like Danet's playing well, which he obviously is. There's not much to be done. Like Lamp only does so much if you know,
and you can get uppercutted out of it.
So as in agreeing on the swap, like something like a Zarya would be. Yeah.
Something different, because they've been
Volamel doesn't sound
playing the
convinced.
same.
Okay.
I think there's two paths. You can go Zarya, or you can just like press into them, change the tempo of the game.
Sure.
They obviously don't want to do that.
Come in.
They obviously don't want to do that. So like at this point, like if you're just going to be playing your off tank on like in Antarctica, just at least be in a position where you can the person who's getting punched by Doom, and they'll live a lot longer.
Yeah. Naru's positioning there again. Very disjointed.
Like they're literally in Antarctica in that fight. Like I don't know what they're looking for. Maybe like the Garden of Eden, but like they shouldn't be where they are.
Molding.
It's nothing has changed, and I think that's the one thing that we can agree on. Yes. We can disagree when it comes to the specifics of what Yab needs to do, but nothing's changing. I don't expect them to be consistent.
So this is 1 minute versus 1 minute 47 seconds.
Feels a little bit more aggressive.
Nico has to use that early. Okay, so Yab used Immortality Field, so
now he goes in.
They will probably lose this fight.
Yeah,
there it goes. I mean, so this is good. They get Danad, but I mean, these are fights again that if they're elongated like this, Alex is literally like getting so much alt charge right now.
Yeah, they not getting kills quickly enough. They get Immortality Field and they still die through it.
Yeah, I don't
like. It's tough to deal with this comp. It takes a little bit of like out of the box thinking.
It just doesn't do anything here. Like it's not I don't know if it's the fault of the hero necessarily, but the way that they're playing it, this is, I don't know, it just is not working.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time I'm curious to see if we're going to see more adjustments for people to try to bring in Doomfist. I mean, this is, I don't know. Are you guys? What do you
don't think?
You don't think so? You think it requires a Danid?
Like Danid.
Okay.
I think it requires a Danid.
Yeah. I mean, to be able to go in the middle of 3 people and execute the one person you want to kill.
Well, because Doomfist is a very tech-reliant hero.
Right.
Like to get the movement that Danid is using, you have to be very adept and know a lot of the tech that Doomfist requires. And I don't think there are a lot of people actually that can do that kind of tech like consistently, like we've seen Dan.
Yeah. I mean, we've been seeing him doing it for years, honestly, at this point. Yeah. He's been doing it forever.
Oh my god. Dude, okay, Boombox used Ant Matrix correctly here. Oh my god. I love this. He uses it, forces them off high ground. You take high ground away now because of your Ant Matrix, and you can move cart forward a little bit more. This is good. Except Boombox gets... Okay.
It just feels like they have to do everything perfectly to win for Yab.
Like it sucks because they played that, like the start was good. Like Boombox, he knows he has advantage with Ant Matrix, so they use Ant Matrix at the start of the fight, like where at a position where Yab can or SMC can't just like run into them and in through Ant Matrix, right? So they have to go on the low ground. You take high ground away, and then just somehow, some way, Dana just comes from literally off screen and one shots your BAP, and then the map. So and then the map's over, baby.
Yeah, this is There need to be names for games like this.
I don't know where Naru is in this, like in any of this. Like I genuinely don't know where Naru is. Like how are you letting Well, I mean, you just don't have the mobility. That's the other thing. Which is why I think Zarya is better here, because Zarya, you don't need mobility necessarily to save your teammates. You just hit your E button.
It's been interesting to see too. I mean, well, I would guess that Naru is marking Solar, because when it's not Danid who's running wild and popping off, it's Solar who is uncontested.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's some stats for you.
I mean, he should realistically be having these stats with how the game is. Like this.
Yeah, like when you're
pounding
the fights the way that you are,
you're shredding.
You're gonna look like that.
Yep.
It's a shame. I'd expect a little bit more out of Yab here.
Yep.
In terms of just like changing something.
Yep.
Like Naru just lets a fire strike go through for 30%. Like why?
Yeah.
Like, how long have you been playing this game where stuff like that shouldn't be happening?
Yeah, I'm trying to actually really watch for you. Yeah, go ahead.
I just don't even know what the position he's taking is necessarily doing. Like, there's not necessarily anything to scout for. Like, it's not like Hanamura A where like you need to scout the composition and then come back within those first 15 seconds. Like, everybody's here, everybody's close holding. Like, play with the team, try to mitigate the damage. Like, there's things that you can eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alex is just super fucking high charge now.
Mm-hmm. Feels like they don't have the damage output too. Rush is kind of. What do you're relying Sika, right?
Yeah, Rush doesn't have a lot of like front-loaded damage.
Yeah.
Like realistically, it's about like burst windows of like separating people like away from like the rest of their combo.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you get Reinhardt, right, you can kill Reinhardt very quickly with like flashbang, right-click combo.
Right. But it's like all has to be coordinated, and you're all on the same person.
Yeah.
And
sustained damage is something that this composition realistically doesn't have too much of.
Yep.
At least good damage.
Boombox is dead.
Yeah,
every time.
Okay.
And Den is dead, but it doesn't matter now.
You win.
Yeah, I'll take a Doomfist for a BAP trade every day of the week.
Any day of the week. It's just it's free. It's free real estate.
Oof.
Shatter, close the fight out. I mean, they might
be able to stabilize, but it's
no, they can't.
Oh, oof.
Respawns are too close. Yep.
I would love to see Hades fire strike off.
These are the frustrating games in esports where like nothing changes, everything stays the same. Boombots just gets like fisted.
I feel like though
5 maps, and it's
for anyone who's like in any contender or like any EU contenders, right? This should be the blueprint that you look at when you try and beat this team, because you need to do exactly what Yab didn't do, like play almost the antithesis of how they played, which was very like KG and not proactively, and they played extremely reactive a lot of the time. Like if you do what Joe says, where it's like you play proactive, you try and just like make them uncomfortable, don't let Dana just set up anywhere on the map and start, executing people from half the map away. I think that's how you beat this team.
Yep.
But you can't let them just bring like iceberg you. I'm just gonna call it that now. You're getting iceberg because you're getting.
If you want to get like just dragged down into Davy Jones's locker, like sure, go for it. Like I don't even hate like screw the Lucio, bring in a brig. Like the fact that you know that they're so like short range in terms of just like effective like damage range.
Yeah.
Like come in, the water's fine. I have plenty of stuns and knockbacks to be able to deal with you. Like Kenobi's been saying, like the Zarya to be able to pocket the Doomfist target. That's great too. I think maybe just even shifting the tempo with the composition, that'll definitely do some things. Like there are 3 avenues that Yab just didn't.
Yeah. They didn't change it all.
The frustrating part is like nothing seemed like it changed.
Yeah.
It just was the same kind of just, this is what we know. Gotta go for it. And I do sympathize with the players in that way, because like I would imagine again it's probably pretty fucking hard to be able to scrim a team as good as Doomfist Zarya as Shoes Money Crew. Now I'm not saying I know a lot of contenders EU players, but I know Danid and I know he has a good Doomfist, right? Like
this is the one replay.
Yeah, like Danid comes from literally out of the screen and just insta kills Psycho before. Like, what is Naru doing here? Like, what is he gonna do?
Yeah. It is like
That's a better question. What is he going to do for this?
What is he doing here? Like, what does he get? He can't contest the Doomfist.
Oh,
Like, the Doomfist is going to outmobility you.
and the fact that you haven't seen them in the main choke in the last 10 seconds should probably tell you something.
He just walks by him because Diva can't contest the Doom, like, mobility wise. So this is why if you bring a Zarya, Psycha doesn't get insta killed like this.
Sure. At least you have an option.
Yeah. You have something you can you can try to do. Like, that's just
agreed.
That's wild. But I think coming back to the I think there are really interesting points that you guys brought up. I think, you know, calling for the adjustments. This is something that I've talked about with Avril a bit, especially in doing a VOD review. And you know, your read on the game and your confidence in the game, you guys are very strongly believing what you're saying. I'm not saying like it's right or wrong, but I think you need to have that. Like, it's important, and for those watching, like, to have that conviction that your read on the game is right, and that you see a solution, even if you're not a pro, right? Like, I think one other part would be interesting too is, you know, what kind of players could we bring on to kind of talk from the other side of that, right? I was actually going to check out the interview that I was going to see who was talking. They actually got Hades, so I don't know how much insight they would be able to bring, but like, yeah, I really would want to hear.
Decent amount, yeah. Like, I mean, because they're the main players, so they probably have a good view of like how.
Yeah, do we want to listen to this interview and we'll wrap it up, because there might be some insights that we glean from it for sure.
Well, Hades, the main tank from Shoes Money Crew, on the line with us.
I can't hear it.
Okay, hold on.
Some fast thoughts from.
Let me just route it to you guys through this.
You just won.
You hear it now?
What should be quite a tough opponent. It's got to be even sweeter when you take down a bunch of former OWL players, right?
Yeah, I think like they're a good team, but I think a lot of people overrate them because they're like all ex-Orange League, and I think they still got that same like level. But I think people need to understand that there's a lot of new players who like improve a lot faster, and I think, you know, we showed that today.
So what you're actually alluding to there is that Shoes Money Crew can get even better than what we saw today.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Well, what a perfect time. So we're actually looking at one of your highlights coming in from Oasis right now. I couldn't help but notice, and we will give the caveat as well, there was a little bit of shenanigans where Nico was, I think, twice on Route 66, blocked a Ben Best shatter. But other than that,
certainly didn't help.
You were holding your own against Ben Best, and you're actually showing him up in some instances as well. Is it a little bit more difficult to play against a player of that experience? I know you've talked about OWL players already, but I'm talking directly one-to-one. Is it different going up against a player who's as experienced as that?
I mean, Wemes is a good Rhine and he has good awareness, but I think like he's already on the older side of things, right? So I don't think his reaction times are as crisp anymore. But I think mine are still very crisp. So I think that's the difference there.
I love that you're basically soft calling Ben Best a boomer right now. That's basically what you're trying to say if we read between the lines. But I'm gonna hand off to Rose here, because I feel like if I keep steering this interview, I could get you to say things that might get you in trouble. So.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the differences we were seeing in the composition highlighted as a part of this highlight package that we're watching now.
Thank you,
you had Alex on the Zarya, and you had Danon playing his signature Doomfist. Talk me through the decision process for that.
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that like Danon is the best Doom EU. Like, he's the homie on the Doomfist, and I think we just like, because he's like a brawl meta, we just think like Danon pocket him and he carries games. And even if he doesn't carry, he provides the space we need. So like, no matter what, like, we support our Doom really well. That's why we picked the comp.
And, you know, I kind of noticed that as well, that, you know, regardless of whether Danon went in and got a pick or died, he was able to still create so much space and utility for your team. So talk me through what kind of happened on that second map of King's Row. What went wrong there for you and your team?
I mean, I think in general, like, it's a good main mid, and like, Nico is kind of like, abuser, so like it's hard to like walk in and do stuff because they can just like easily wall that. And I also think that like Naru was playing that map really well. He was always like going on the backline and stuff, so it was hard for Saab to like be like aware of like when to lamp and shit. So yeah, there was a nice play map from them, but doesn't matter at the end, does it?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for providing some of that insight to us. I think I have one more question for you, and that's, you know, how do you peel when you do have Alex playing the Zarya? You know, we've been talking to players about how important D.Va has really been to kind of keep like your McCree alive. So what's the game plan there when you've got Solar playing the McCree?
I mean, in general, gameplay is like either I take all the aggro or Dennet does take all the aggro. If we don't, then me and Dennet are just free to carry the game. And I think like that shows in some fights that they don't contest us. So we
just quickly, Hades, the replay we had on screen right there was when Solar got a double Deadeye kill through you. Did you have to comm whether that was clear for him to take the shot?
No. Sana is just a little cracker. He does what he wants. He's a little nuts with it. So it's, I don't know.
Speaking of little monsters, let's talk a little bit about Johnny. Hanamura point A defense, where Johnny was just running around the rafters. He bought so much time for you. What are the comms like in clutch moments like that when you've got maybe one or two players just stalling it out while everyone in the cavalry's coming in?
And I think like it's very like high pressure, but the people who are dead.
How many replays are we gonna have of that?
Like, don't like do too much communications, because that like might hinder the fight and the flow of it. So like in general, like Kumru or Johnny was like shouting on the top of his lungs, like, and it was actually kind of funny. But yeah.
And I suppose I got one more for you as well, because it was one of the single most painful things I have seen in contenders for a while. The Hanamura victory, or you know, the capture you guys got when Young and Beautiful were winning a fight and just didn't have point presence. Was that something that you could see coming, or were you as surprised as we were?
I mean, I was also I was really surprised, you know, because like they were all over players and stuff. So I thought, you know, they would have the awareness, but I guess not. We still lose the map, so or like draw the map, so it doesn't matter. But it was kind of funny moment.
Oh yeah, it caused me severe pain. I had close to a breakdown on stream because of it. Hades, thanks so much for your time. Thanks.
All right, so a couple things confirmed. Right, at least leaning towards a direction. It would
pocket. Damn it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem too much deeper than Danid go make the space and then they'll follow up as an entire team. The one thing that I did kind of piece together was Naru's positioning wasn't necessarily haphazard. There was a little bit more pressure put on the Saab here. And I think that's super important to note, because you have to remember exactly how Baptista's is healing. That can be eaten, right?
Yeah.
So it does feel like a race, but a race that you're really not going to win. With Immortality Field, with just even like personal healing that Saab's able to do, like that's not a race that I would necessarily want to opt into. And I think even with that race, I'm gonna get back on my soapbox. I think a better tempo or a faster tempo for this team would have done wonders to put Danid back on the back foot and force them just a different look. Like just changing something, I think would have gone a long way for you.
Yeah, I think I agree with Joe, where it's like something changed, like something needs to change. Just in general, I think for the team, like they were talking about King's Row as like how King's Row was like super good for. It felt like every map that was like, even maps that were like not geometrically great for Doom.
Yeah,
they still won out just because. Something about Young and Beautiful just not changing at all. The way they played, the composition that they were playing, it just felt like every single time Boombox was getting 100-0,
just pounded.
Yeah, and they had
Dorado
no
was probably the worst, but
it was bad.
Yeah.
And I think just like this, I mean, it's funny, we laugh about T1W and like memeing about how Shoes Money Crew is T1W, but Young and Beautiful played a lot like T1W2, as in they just banged their head against the wall. They didn't realistically change a lot.
I do expect to their credit, to come to their defense for a moment, I do expect a lot of this to get ironed out as the season progresses. Like, I do not think Shoes Money Crew is going to be able to get away with this for the entire contender season.
You said that about T1W, and then
to a point, it got to a point where they did try to run this in meta they shouldn't have. It took a while, but I'll rely on some take delay there. I expect EU as a region to be able to properly deal with Shoes Money Crew by I'd say like 3/4 of the way through. I think whether it's moving compositionally, whether it's upping the tempo, whether it's how you're investing your resources, something is going to have to change. Teams will kind of filter down into a comfort zone, into that gear shift, and they'll find that sweet spot to be able to shut down this Doomfist. And that's where it goes back and the ball gets thrown into Shoes Money Crew's court, right? Like, do you have a standard composition that looks strong? Can you play the mirror well? And maybe that's where Yab kind of was preparing, and they didn't prepare for this Doomfist. Yeah. It's, again, I think it's tough to prepare for a Doomfist or a team like Shoes Money Crew.
One team that's
I would again, I don't know. I would suspect that this is probably the one team that's doing it the best.
Yeah, I mean, this makes me super excited to watch more EU contenders, which continues tomorrow, by the way. Lemon Kiwi and Leg Day, I know, will be casting tomorrow, I believe. And I said I know, and then I believe I was like, wait, I'm not quite sure. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Jen is casting tomorrow. So some cool stuff. So Jen, there you go with some storylines there for perspective of our friendos here. I want to see other teams try out Doomfist. We'll see what happens.
I think if they have a good Doomfist player, they can try. But
you could try.
You heard Hades, Danet's best EU or best Doom.
Best EU. Doom homie.
Like that play around the sign where he was just kind of dipping in and out, right? The 80 spam, no acceleration on the 80 spam, just absolutely playing Seika there. I think
Jen actually brings up a good point, or that Speedily played Doom, I think, today quite a bit.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think it is. I think it's something. NA definitely, I think, has the Doomfist players to multiple. Yeah. I don't know if EU does though.
EU's,
or at least I don't know if it'll look as good as Danet, because Danet's the bar right now.
Yeah, I'm excited for sure. And this is kind of fun about diving in deep here. And I know we're going to wrap up here. I think you guys have been troopers. I think we've been going for pretty much 3 hours now.
Oh dang. I didn't realize what time it was.
Yeah, I know, right? Time flies by when you're enjoying some. Yeah, I enjoy this meta. I genuinely do.
Enjoyable.
I do. I like this meta a lot too. I mean, I really like goats, so it's
Deathball comps are fun to watch.
Deathball is
it's a little messy, but
can be
messy. Yeah, I mean, dive can be messy too.
So we'll have to do some power rankings in a couple of years, right? Of the best comps ever of Overwatch, but this has been super fun. I'm excited to continue watching contenders. Make sure you go over to youtube.com search Overwatch contenders, because I don't know if they have the code. And click that bell, by the way. Let's do our wrap ups. Or as part of your sign offs, I'm gonna ask you what's going on, what do people got to watch. Kenobi, I know you got some stuff going on too. I'll have Volamel go first. Rep what you have going on, / if you want to throw in what you're looking forward to the rest of this contender season.
Always interested to see the next wave of incoming talent. Even just looking at some of the Paris Eternal guys and hearing some of the stories and seeing some of their preseason stuff. Like, EU is still a team that has a lot of talent to it and a lot of dedicated people. Feels a lot like the League of Legends scene early on, where it took a little bit for them to kind of get online, but once they did, this is a region that seriously can compete at the top level and can argue for some world championships. So I do, I look at Paris Eternal, I look at London Spitfire and how situated they are to kind of recruit some of these upcoming talents. So that's definitely something that's super exciting to look out for. But in terms of work itself, I have an interview that's live currently with Mineral of the Boston Uprising. He spoke very candidly, and thankfully for him, I got to tell the story of their rebuild through his own personal story. So if you're interested in that, maybe you're from Boston, maybe you're excited for the new Boston Uprising, go check that out. That's on my Twitter and on GG Recon. And Power Rankings coming out, and Valorant's coming up soon. So stay tuned, I guess.
What a time to be alive.
Yes.
Definitely, the gaming and the esports has made COVID a lot more bearable.
Yes.
So good stuff. We'll make sure to follow you over at Volamel, above Volamel's head over there. Kenobi, what you got going on?
I got some collegiate Overwatch this weekend still, both Saturday and
There's
Sunday.
collegiate Overwatch too? What?
Yeah, there's collegiate Overwatch too.
Yo, how's MSU doing? How's U of M?
I don't even think U of M actually made it.
Great.
Damn.
Fantastic. Back to you.
I think the team that won the mixer was like Mizzou. So Mizzou has a pretty good team coming out of there. We'll be casting the varsity wild card, which is going to be like all the varsity teams that didn't make it into the playoffs get like a second chance. So should be a lot of good programs playing, should be a lot of good Overwatch that you can also find, like Jay said, on the same Overwatch Tier 2 channel, because we're also technically part of Path to Pro. So you can find me there. Chinese Contenders, which I'm tied at the hip to kind of, is actually the group stage starts in 2 hours, I think.
Whoa,
from
Are
right
we
now.
staying up? Let's stay up.
Okay.
Let's
I
get
have
it.
class, so I don't know. Yeah, that's definitely something that I'm still looking at in terms of wanting to cover at least the group stages. We'll see what happens later on. And then, yeah, just my Twitter is the best place to know where to find what I'm doing exactly at KenobiCasts. Collegiate and Chinese Contenders are kind of what I specialize in, so that's mostly what I'm going to be doing. I'll have power rankings out at some point too.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's my plug.
Just take Joe's power rings and flip him upside down and call him an idiot.
True.
Do the Wizard Young, where he's
Very good. All right, good stuff. All right, thanks y'all for joining. And like I said, it's been a little while, but we had some fun diving into. Overwatch is a fun meta, and it's been nice to get back into some Overwatch. Cool, good stuff. Well, thank you both. That's gonna wrap it up for us. If you enjoyed this and you're still here, wow, hats off to you as well. Thank you for being here. Hashtag support tier 2. And if you're watching this on YouTube, we stream live every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. I think we start at 3:30 in the morning Central European time. So if you're a real gamer, you're still gonna be up during that time. If not, you can check out our YouTube the YouTube playlist. I'm throwing them onto here. We've added all Valorant content up until now, but I think we're gonna mix it up, and I want to see if we can get some coaches / players on here. Hit up some people. See if we can. I want to put a caster versus a coach and have them duke it out. We'll see. But that'll do it for us. Make sure to feel free to give me any feedback. You can find me on Twitter as well. Twitter's up there, or throw it into the comments that you guys have. That's gonna wrap it up. Thanks so much for everyone for sticking around, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.